Let me tell you, if there's one thing I've learned about how the world works, it's this. If you want to be great at something, if you want to dominate something, if you want to be remembered for all time, for being the very best at what you do, you can't be afraid to go places where you're gonna feel the heat. You gotta go to places where they expect you to bring it. Places where they want you to fight for it. Places where they push you, they test you, and make you feel how big you gotta go to have it all.
How about this, Martin Truex Jr.? You are the champion, baby! Woo!
Well then, it's about time these race car drivers all got down here to my neck of the woods. And they better know everything is bigger in Texas.
Right now, boys! Texas W!
If I was behind the wheel, man, I'd love this time of year. Any Texan would. The spotlight's bigger, the stakes are bigger, the pressure's bigger. The championship's calling them, right?
A drag race, they're sideways, and it's gonna be Logano getting the win.
Miami, baby! Yes!
Everything they've raced for, everything they've worked for, it's all coming down to these last few weeks. I love that about this sport. I love that there's no way around the job they gotta do.
They won the battle, but he ain't win the damn war. I'm just not gonna let him win it. I'm gonna win it.
So welcome to No Limits, Texas. Everything's bigger now. And don't just take my word for it. Why don't you go ahead and have a look for yourself?
I've seen Stone Cold, and I am going to take his word for it. It is all on the line today. And we look at the playoff leaderboard where 8 drivers come into this round with a possibility at a championship. Joey Logano, maybe a controversy move a week ago at Martinsville when he moves Martin Truex Jr. out of the way to get the win, but that win guarantees him a spot in the championship 4. Welcome again to the middle race of this, the semifinal round of the championships. Now, this is one of 2 opportunities that are still remaining for these drivers to lock themselves into the championship. And this first race right here is at the fastest and toughest half-mile track that NASCAR goes to in the whole country. And to talk more about it, let's bring in the crew chief, Steve Letarte, driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. We have seen already this track is extremely tough.
Yeah, it is. It's been real slick. To be a repave, this place has been hard for these guys to get a hold of. Goodyear has to bring a pretty tough tire to handle those repaves and those speeds. So let's go back to the April race, though, and understand exactly what we might see today. On restarts is when most of this stuff's going to occur. Everybody's on new tires. That's been the toughest for these drivers. So the field's very compressed, and it's going to collect a lot of other cars. You see here Alex Bowman spinning out on a restart in April, and then we have another crash with Denny Hamlin here getting loose into the 10 car. That collects all these guys here. We're going to see this today, I believe. Well, we also saw, even more seriously, some right front tire failures. 42 car of Kyle Larson getting in the wall in turn 1 and 2. Truex hard in the wall off turn 4. That prompted a tire test for Goodyear to come here and change this tire. And they did for this whole weekend.
Yeah, and that more durable tire is just lower on grip. We saw it yesterday in the Xfinity race. How about this? Pole sitter, Christopher Bell, perhaps championship favorite, spins out on the first lap. We continue to see accidents. You heard them say the toughest 1.5-mile track that NASCAR visits. It proved that way yesterday. Some of the championship favorites had an issue. Half the playoff field were involved in incidents. I expect the same today, Dale.
I do too. These guys tested that tire, brought a new tire here, thought they were going to have more grip, more comfort in their cars, but we've heard them all weekend. They say this place is really slick. We might see exactly what we saw here in April.
Yeah, and standing with the first winner here at Texas Motor Speedway, the mayor, Jeff Burton, he actually hit me on the arm. He said, it's not a half-mile, it's a 1.5-mile racetrack. That's what I want at. But, Jeff, we have already seen this weekend calamity.
Yeah, it has been. With 2 races so far this, Rick, 20 cautions. 20 cautions in 2 races. It's been crazy. Who does this favor? I think it favors the best drivers and the best team. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch have been fast all weekend, and they know how to deal with this adversity. Who does it hurt? Martin Truex Jr., he's been extremely fast all year, but he has to go to the back, going to start in the rear because he had to change an engine. And also another guy that needs a win that's been very fast, Aric Almirola, going to the rear for body modifications. You can see right here just a few minutes ago, gentleman in the khakis, that's Chad Little. He is a managing director of officiating, looking at that right rear quarter panel with a NASCAR official, something they saw they didn't like. He's got to go to the back.
At the bottom of the screen, you've seen the Outback Steakhouse starting grid rolling along the bottom. And Looking forward to another great race from Texas Motor Speedway. As Jeff had just mentioned, 20 cautions already this weekend with the Truck Series race and the Xfinity Series race yesterday, and both had last lap passes for the wins. Steve, let's break down this race.
Well, we talked about how difficult the racetrack is, but how will it be consumed? How will this race be broken down? Well, you heard 501 miles on this 1.5 mile oval, 334 laps. Those laps will be broken down into stage 1 and stage 2, both 85 laps in length. The third and final stage, 164 laps. Fuel window, 58 to 62 laps. And with the durability in this tire, Rick, I believe that we are going to see guys work on that fuel strategy, work on that fuel window. This may be a fuel conservation race at times.
Again, a competition caution will come on lap 30 because of rain showers that passed through the area, wiped off the rubber off the racetrack. So again, lap 30 for competition caution, which will make for another restart that will take place. We'll ride along with a few different drivers, one of those being Daniel Suarez, guys.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez has the Coca-Cola cam today. Going to be on the roof here. See some good shots. Also looking at the driver, the reverse cam. Also, we got Chase Elliott with the Chevrolet camera. Also with a roof camera. And a reverse cam, looking at the driver, seeing what he's doing in there all day. Mark Truex Jr. also the Bass Pro Cabela's camera. Look off the roof of that car and the side panner, so we'll see what he's doing all day long from that view.
Yeah, another Coca-Cola cam. Joey Logano be on board with the driver, the 22. He's starting in the 4th row, the 8th position. Already locked into Miami. Going to be a little more lax for Joey Logano today. The driver not locked in, looking for that big win today. Kurt Busch in the 41. He'll have the state water heaters on board. He's also in row 4 next to Joey Logano. He'll be in the 7th position. And then perhaps the favorite, the talk of the garage, Kevin Harvick in the 4 car with the Ford Performance onboard camera starting in the 2nd row. But man, Rick, everyone in the garage area said this is the car that showed the most speed in practice.
We'll have also his vantage point, but then we'll be high atop. Our aerial coverage provided today by Coca-Cola. So we have cameras all around the racetrack, in the race cars, as well as above, so that you can see all of the action that takes place here at this 1.5 mile track. As I mentioned, the fastest, they'll be going over 200 miles an hour when they enter turn 1, but they slow way down in turn 1. So it's going to be very difficult for these drivers to maneuver through the 500 miles today. Let's go back to pit road and Dave Burns.
So how about that fast 4 car? Remember, they were also here fast when they raced here in April, but a myriad issues led to them finishing 2nd on the day. Still won a stage, got 10 stage points. But since then, Kevin Harvick has gone on and won 7 times in the series. So again today, the 4 car, one to watch out for. Marty?
Dave, you saw those highlights from the Xfinity Series race yesterday, and that's what worries Martin Truex Jr. He will start at the back after changing an engine this morning in the 78 car, and he said this track is so treacherous. Starting at the back, working my way through traffic will be very difficult for us today. My whole goal is if we can get any stage points in stage 1, that will be a big win for us on the 78 team. The other advantage is the competition caution. Cole Pearn has a pit stall at the very front end of pit road. They know when that competition caution is coming, Kelly, and he can also call opposite strategy of everybody else to gain some track position.
Well, 46 points is the cushion for Kyle Busch in this 18 team, which means they're going to be balancing between simply collecting more points and going for the win. Crew Chief Adam Stevens told me if they gain a lot of points in stage 1 and 2, they'll probably manage their risk in stage 3 of this race. But if they lose points to the 78 and 4 in stages 1 and 2, look for this team to get aggressive late in this race.
You heard Marty mention a competition yellow. That's because heavy showers last night came through, washed the majority of the rubber off the racetrack. This will give the teams just a little bit of chance to check their car, make adjustments earlier in the race.
Yeah, Steve, I think the drivers right now, they're very nervous. You know, watching that race yesterday and watching the race Friday night, so many wrecks on restart. So this is the first time that they've driven down into turn 1 side by side. They're all nervous right now, afraid they're going to lose control of their cars.
And a reminder with that competition caution, until lap 30, these drivers can't come to pit road and add fuel. So they could come to pit road, make adjustments, tires, things like that, but they can't add fuel until lap 30. In front of these drivers, 500 miles. As they come through the tri-oval, it's the AAA Texas 500.
Up the racetrack to 14. Clint Bowyer gets into the side of the 11. Denny Hamlin slides up.
We saw that in April. Clint Bowyer got loose on a restart, collecting almost the guy on the outside line. It cost Denny several spots.
And that's what we've seen all weekend long. We've seen cars on restarts.
Denny's
Someone has a problem.
Yeah, Denny's smoking back there for a tire rub.
So that contact with the 14 now has the 11 in a hole already. Out front, Ryan Blaney. Still see the tire smoke coming from the 11 as he goes through the turn. Blaney, Harvick, Keselowski, Logano, Kurt Busch, the top 5.
Let's take a look at it again. See that tire mark on the left rear. Harvick looks 3 wide right here on his teammate Bowyer going into turn 1, but thinks twice about it, backs off. Bowyer, though, gets down the corner and just gets loose. I don't know that the move by Harvick really played a role in that. I think that that's just that's what we've seen every time on the restarts on these sticker tires here. Very treacherous.
The only thing that could have affected Clint Bowyer is he could have driven in the corner just a little bit harder than he wanted to trying to beat Harvick to the corner, and that got him up the racetrack.
Yeah, Denny's got heavy damage that left side, left front and left rear. Marty.
And Junior, that's what everybody was worried about. We keep going back to the Xfinity Series race, but we saw drivers with their hands absolutely full. You're on the razor's edge here at Texas. Bowyer said, I went into turn 1. My car just absolutely went straight, plowing tight very early on. And Junior, the drivers have talked all weekend long about having no feel with these tires. Bowyer echoed that as well.
Yeah, they changed both the left and the right side tire. They say that the left side has grip, but the right side is something they cannot feel. They cannot understand where the grip level is in the car. Every time they go into the corner, they're just guessing on how much grip they have.
And you think you have grip with that kind of tire, Junior. You think you have grip. Everything feels really good. Right up until time it doesn't. And that's how quick it happens. You have grip, and then boom, it goes away. It's very hard to keep from getting into somebody when that happens.
Well, you heard it. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. had to go to the back of the field because of that engine change. The 10 of Eric Almirola also did. He's behind him a little bit. Well, let's go on board with the 78 right here. Let's talk about how you move through traffic here at Texas. It's very one groove, very difficult to pass, so he's going to take the easy way. Let the car in front of him make a hole, lift real early. Look how early he's out of the gas to make sure it gets to the white line. Tries to fill that hole underneath the 11 car. He'll try to continue through Dale heading down the backstretch.
Yeah, the 24 is making the holes for him. Kind of like a fullback making a hole for the halfback. They're working their way through the field. That makes it easy for Truex. That's how treacherous it is. You see that. How little grip they have. You can hear the throttle on the inside of that 34 car. And that's why we see the problems on restart so often is when they're side by side, it takes the side force off of the inside car. That's the car that has the least amount of grip. Marty.
And Junior, just imagine being behind the wheel of this 78 car, a team that knows they need good points on the day. They need to make their way through the field. And they did this last week at Martinsville. Started in the back, made their way to the front, almost won that race. But Truex told me doing it at Texas, a completely different story. Setting up these passes, you got to be very careful, but you also have to be aggressive when you go to make your move, Dave.
Right after the incident, crew chief Mike Wheeler asked Denny Hamlin, do you need to come to pit road? And Denny said, I think so. Then just 2 laps ago, he said, are you still smelling smoke? Now we're seeing smoke, and he said, nope, it's going away. So right now, Denny's trying to ride it out. He thinks the left rear, though, may be damaged, Kelly.
Right behind him, you see Eric Almirola, again, who had to start from the rear for those unapproved body modifications. He knows he's got his work cut out for him, but here's what he said to the team just before the green flag.
We've got our work cut out for us today. We've got to go to the back. So we'll dig hard all day and just fight, man. That's all we can do is fight. And hopefully later today I'll show you how ridiculous I look in a cowboy hat.
He's talking about that cowboy hat and those 6-shooters. You get in victory lane here at Texas, but his job to win one of these next 2 races just got a little more difficult.
11 of Denny Hamlin. You see him waving his hand out the window. They are coming to pit road right now.
That's so frustrating. Lap 1. You know, somebody gets into the side of you, damages the car, and then you got to pit.
And slow on the track is the 14 of Bowyer now.
Wonder if he's got a right side down from that contact.
Bigger runs, 2 bigger runs. Gonna go after the 78. He's the 6 car behind you.
He's trying to get down on the pit road. That's a spot of Brett Griffin talking to him. Going to be a tight squeeze right here.
Zone speed 4,400. 4,400.
He feels he has a problem on the right side. Marty.
And you heard Brett Griffin and still trying to guide him to pit road. They were talking about the damage from when he contacted the 11 car with Denny Hamlin. They thought the damage was just behind the right front tire and just behind the right rear, but Bowyer says it did get the right rear tire. That's the one that is going flat for him. Mike Bugaravich making sure no fuel here because of that competition caution at lap 30, but right rear going flat for Clint Bowyer after contact on the start of the race, and a team that desperately needed a good point save. Now it's going to be likely a must-win at Phoenix next week.
We'll take another look at what created all these issues for the 14 at Bowyer. 3 wide into turn 1. Harvick thinks better about it, backs off. I don't think that played a role in it. The 14 just gets loose on the inside. Here's a view of that. He's just, look at him. The 4 is pretty far back, and the 14 just loses the back of the race car. We have seen this so many times that I can't put that on Harvick's move. Just the fact that these cars don't have grip on stickers, and the guy on the inside line doesn't have any side force with that outside line tucked on him.
It's a long race. There's time for Clint Bowyer to make this happen. You have to hope they got those fenders pulled off so they don't get another cut tire.
Bowyer and Hamlin both 2 laps down to start the race here in Texas. Blaney still out front. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse, Aussie Rules, Chevrolet, the most awarded car company 4 years in a row, Monster Energy, unleash the beast, and by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Ryan Blaney just 4 car lengths in front of Kevin Harvick now, and Blaney already starting to negotiate his way through lap traffic. One of the big things that will happen at this racetrack is you will see the closing rate of cars on the lead lap going up against cars that aren't on the lead lap, and how much difference that is. And Jeff, as a driver, that's got to be very difficult to figure out when to get by these cars.
Yeah, it really is. And in that situation, Blaney was able to get through lap traffic a little bit better than Harvick. Harvick had cut that lead to about 3 car lengths. Blaney got to the lap traffic in the right places and was able to get through it quicker. Now Harvick's going to try to run him back down and try to take that lead before this competition caution.
When we went away, I mentioned that both Bowyer and Hamlin were 2 laps down. Well, Hamlin came back to pit road. He is 3 laps down. They had to do a little more work to the left side of that car.
So we talk about this racetrack being so difficult. Let's explain why. This back straightaway, Texas Motor Speedway, watch the miles per hour on the car. Watch, he's out of the throttle now. Back to the throttle, low mile per hour of 178. 178 in the middle of the corner. It's exceptionally fast. You can see he's running Blaney down just a little bit. Now he drives into turn 1, completely different end of the corner. Way out of the gas, very early, still out of the gas, still not back in the gas. Look at the miles per hour, all the way down to 156 miles per hour as he's getting to run on Blaney. Going to try to look at the inside right here. That's why this track is so hard. Both ends of the racetrack are completely different from one another.
And that was a situation where Blaney had caught up to one of the lapped cars, and that slowed him down to try to get by. And so Harvick closes the gap now to 2 car lengths.
So there you go. Minimum speed in the center of the corner, 167 turns 1 and 2, 181 in turns 3 and 4. That's why it's so difficult. It's impossible to get your car to drive, to set it up in one end of the corner, in one end of the racetrack where it doesn't hurt the other. This is an opportunity right here. You're going to see it all day long, Rick. You mentioned it. Lap traffic is going to play a role here, Dave.
And it did in the spring as well. Rodney Childers told me that even after Kevin got back in the pack and was passing lapped cars, sometimes he'd close on him like this, and then he couldn't pass him. Very hard to get by. But it looks like here Rick is going to stick the nose down to the inside, but Blaney shuts the door.
Blaney comes down hard right in front of Kevin Harvick, shuts the door, as you mentioned, Dave. And so Blaney already blocking, making sure that that 4 doesn't have clean air as they dove into 1.
So watch what Kevin Harvick does. He tried to do it that lap. Blaney didn't let him do it. Kevin Harvick turned early, got to the middle of the straightaway, just went to the left, showed Blaney that he wants the inside. Blaney was able to cut him off that time. See how much lower the 4 car is getting into turn 1? That puts air on the front of his car that makes his car drive better. Blaney off the bottom of the racetrack. This pass is going to happen here in just a few seconds, Blaney.
He's going to have to do it quick, though, because laps running out as far as when the competition caution is going to come out.
So as we see this great battle for the lead, another great battle on the racetrack, involves another playoff car. Chase Elliott in the 9, working to get past Paul Menard in the 21. He's better. He's been battling for the last couple laps. As we see Blaney get hung behind another lap car on the left side of your screen, as you get Kevin Harvick a run down the back straightaway. Same situation on the right side of your screen. You have Paul Menard chasing through lap traffic. Chase Elliott trying to get underneath him.
Yeah, I thought Harvick was going to be able to have an opportunity to go to the inside of Blaney right there, but he was having just as much trouble running behind those two cars side by side of getting grip in his car to make that pass. Couldn't create the momentum he needed.
Look how much lower the 4-car is on corner entry. See what that does for him? See how he beats him through the middle of the corner? Blaney's trying to run that traditional 1.5 mile groove where he stays out a little bit longer against the wall, makes an arc, turns in later. Kevin Harvick driving it like it's a short track, turning real early, getting to the white line quickly.
Both drivers that are trying to take over the position in front of them struggling, as we see the 9 of Chase Elliott can't get by Paul Menard. Marty.
Meanwhile, the story for Clint Bowyer in 37th, down 2 laps. Now, the theory here is that you would not pit at the competition caution, which should come out in about 3 laps. But Bowyer's radio to the team said that damage on the right side is not fixed. He still smells the tire up, so they're going to have to come down pit road here at the competition caution and get that fixed, Steve. So getting 2 laps back going to be tough for Clint Bowyer today.
Yeah, 1 down is somewhat recoverable as we see Chase Elliott finally work by Paul Menard on the right side of your screen. But with 2 down, it's very difficult because they'll continue to be cars 1 lap down. It means you're going to have to find one without the help of the free pass. It makes it much more difficult.
Nothing is more frightening. I can't think of anything more frightening than smelling a tire rub at 200 and 180, 190 miles an hour here around Texas.
That's why that information by Clint Bowyer is vital. As the crew chief, you can't really see the smoke, so if he smells it, they have to use this opportunity, a guaranteed yellow coming in a lap or so, to get the repairs. Still over 300 laps to go in the race.
They just crossed the line and are now on lap 31, so 30 laps complete. And NASCAR has let us know that this is when the competition caution would come out, and we see the caution flag and the lights now around the racetrack. So Ryan Blaney, one of the great things there is Ryan Blaney was able to hold off Kevin Harvick through those 30 laps. Difficult, obviously, for Kevin Harvick, who couldn't get by race leader Ryan Blaney. Well, NASCAR Drive, that's your live race day companion. You can watch throughout the broadcast, select alternate camera angles, or you can ride along with in-car video of your favorite drivers. You never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive or download the NASCAR mobile app today.
You mentioned those troubles that Denny Hamlin's been having, and from this lap 1 contact with Bowyer, and there it is. You can see the major smoke. Obviously, tires still rubbing. They just had to come in and take enough time to get it fixed. Terribly disappointing for this team.
And what's on the line is Denny Hamlin has a streak going. He has every single year he has run at the Cup Series level, he's won a race. Not in 2018. So he has only 3 opportunities remaining. Here, Phoenix, and Homestead, Miami. So now Denny Hamlin in a hole once again, trying to get that win in 2018 to keep that streak alive. The other driver at the top of the list, Jimmie Johnson, also trying to keep the consecutive wins per season streak alive. He's at 16 already, trying to add to that. And Jimmie Johnson started at the rear. And here they come to you, Kelly.
And we'll start with Kyle Busch in that 18 team. He fired off a little bit loose, and then he said he didn't have enough right rear grip. But as that run progressed, he said he tightened it up a little bit. And now he feels like the 18 is okay. All he's asked for is a tear off and some water. It'll be 4 Goodyears and Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Kevin Harvick was asked, what would you like for tires? He said, I vote for track position. So they'll leave the Goodyear Racing Eagles that are on the left side, get 1 full can of fuel in, Marty, and he's gone.
Ryan Blaney led all 32 laps, Dave. He said, I just lack rear security, just a little bit too loose, and it hurts me the most in 1 and 2, so they can take some air pressure out of the right rear. They go with 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and you see all that track position they lose because of that call, Rick.
Yeah, the race off pit road brought to you by Kroger Quick List, and a slow stop for the 12 team. Not even 5 spots they could hold on to. You're watching Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas. want to take a look at some Outback curbside takeaways from Texas Motor Speedway. 6 different winners in 7 playoff races this season. Could we have a 7th different winner? 10 cars finished on the lead lap at Texas in April. That's the fewest in the last 17 Texas races. And Kevin Harvick won stage 1 in the last 2 Texas races. And guess who is up front? Yes, Kevin Harvick. Well, if he places in the top 10 today, you get a free Bloomin' Onion with purchase on Bloomin' Monday. One of the big 3. Kevin Harvick is a part of that, with Martin Truex Jr., who was able to move up to 5th after those pit stops. But a speeding penalty on pit road for the 18 will put Kyle Busch to the back of the field.
You just can't afford those mistakes. We talk about track position, how difficult this racetrack is. The 18 of Kyle Busch was 5th before the pit stops, came down pit road, chose to take 4 tires, lost a couple spots, but Kelly, I think, was still going to be fine, but this speeding penalty is going to cost the 18 a tremendous amount of track position.
Well, yeah, and Kyle Busch is really perplexed of how he could be speeding going into section 1 under that caution. He said he was at the bumper of the 22 who was not speeding, but his crew chief, Adam Stevens, reminding him, hey, you got to take care of your stuff. You can't make this all up in just a couple of corners. So reminding his driver to be a little bit patient as he works back through the field.
Hey, Kelly, I think a lot of people are confused about that speeding penalty. Only 3 speeding penalties here in April. Well, guess what? We just had 4 speeding penalties. The 2 car was penalized for speeding. The 18 that you just heard about, the 1 car, Jamie McMurray, and also the 34 car. So 4 speeding penalties on the first pit stops, Marty.
And Jeff Clint Boyer's nose served him very well. Take a look at that left rear. I mean, the entire shape of the tire has changed. Remember, he said he smelled the tire rub. I talked to the team. They said that tire probably would have lasted about 5 more laps. So the competition caution, very fortuitous for Clint Boyer and that 14 team. They did come in. They pulled out all that damage on the right rear. So in theory, they will not have any tire rubs anymore. But Steve, I can tell you what, that tire would probably frighten a crew chief, wouldn't it?
Very much so. I mean, you can see right there that it looks like a little texture. That's the fabric that's in the sidewall already showing. So very close to air. You don't ever want to see that. Pit road, a dangerous place with all these cars on the lead lap. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. 13 comes in and clips the foot of the crew member of the 22, but looks like he's okay.
Let's listen in to Kevin Harvick's radio.
I said the only other bad part would be if the 41 did that below us and wiped us out. It's like 50-50. I mean, that's what happened yesterday. It's like, yeah, you take the top to guard yourself, but then the guy below you screws up and takes him with you.
Ultimately, crew chief Rodney Childers said, I don't know what's right. Timmy Hafida, the spotter, said, my gut says take the bottom and get the whole shot, Rick.
Field going through the Geico restart zone. Harvick has chosen the inside. Kurt Busch on the outside. Up through the gears they go as they go to turn 1.
That's what Harvick wants right there. He wants to be clear down into turn 1, so he doesn't have the 41 on his outside. Those guys, look at the gap that they put on the 20 and the 17 behind them. Harvick driving away. Great restart.
I like the entry there for the 20, though. In that second lane, that's where we've seen a lot of the issues, second and third lane. He kind of tiptoed through 1 and 2, came out of there in the 4th position. That's fine. He's having a decent day. Stewart-Haas Racing teammates 1, 2, both on right side tires. Stenhouse, Eric Jones also on right side tires. There's some battling back in the pack.
Yeah, this is where it gets tough. These guys are in dirty air. Plus, they have cars on their outside. Real slick off of turn 2. We've seen so many problems. Guys getting loose. Looks like Truex is going to give up position here to Logano. These 2 guys had some history from last week. Not going to see that kind of action on the racetrack today with these speeds, but
Truex almost gave up the position to say, hey, I want the bottom. Go ahead. Let's not go through here side by side.
Well, this is the first time Truex has kind of been inside the top 10, but he's only got 2 tires, so it would be interesting to see what kind of speed he has in his cars against these other guys here behind him.
And Junior, we told you that Cole Pearn would make that call. You see Ryan Blaney making a pass on Eric Jones there. Cole Pearn would do kind of the opposite of what he saw the rest of the field do. That was the advantage of pitting at the very front end of pit road. They went with those 2 tires, got themselves in the top 10. Now Truex, who started last on the field today, running 7th.
Absolutely. Behind him, Chase Elliott was running 8th. He lost the bottom of the racetrack and gave up a position to Paul Menard. The 9 car's been struggling all weekend trying to get speed out of their car. Looks like the handling's still an issue. Yeah, front windshield caved in right in front of the driver, creating downforce.
You see on the left-hand side of your screen the points, and you see how much a mistake is costly. The 18 car just 10 above the cut line. with Kurt Busch running in the second position, 10 below.
Elliott under pressure here with Daniel Suarez. A lot of all throttle down into turn 1. Look, Suarez losing the front of his car. Look how much grip he lost right there and how much distance he lost to the 9 car. He's going to have a battle behind him. He's going to block down the back straightaway to try to keep this position. We're going to see that all day long, guys blocking aggressively down the back straightaway because they do not want to give up that bottom in 3 and 4 because of the train. Look, all these guys are ready to get lined up behind Trevor Bayne and go by Daniel Suarez on the inside. The 10 car of Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, all those guys are hoping that they can get the position on the 19 here.
And how about Trevor Bayne having a good day in the top 10? Remember, Trevor Bayne does not know what he's doing next year. This is his last race at Roush Fenway Racing. Not any idea of his plans for next year. Hoping for a good day. Running 10th right now.
It's the tale of 2 racetracks. Trevor Bayne exiting turn 4, heading down the front straightaway. He's going to head into the flatter turns 1 and 2. It has less banking, it's wider, but you have to get to the bottom, as Eric Almirola does right there. You got to get to the white line. You race it almost like a short track. You have to protect the inside line. Then you exit turn 2. Now you go to the super speedway end of the racetrack. 3 and 4, tons of banking, tons of throttle time.
Side by side here.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney's trying to make his move up as they had a little bit slower stop. They took 4 tires. Coming up on Joey Logano now, who's running in the 4th position. Those two both took 4 tires when they came to pit road. A little bit slower stops for them.
Yeah, the 12 car was in front of Joey Logano, but he lost the bottom of turns 3 and 4, went way up the track. See how that happened. Down into turn 3 behind the 17 of Stenhouse. Loose. The back of that car sliding out from under him. He chases it up the racetrack. There is no outside groove yet. We may see one in the 3rd and final stage. May see him be able to use that outside groove, but not yet. Dave.
22 of Joey Logano taking the 4 tires on that run, and crew chief Todd Gordon radioed back to him, yeah, we talked about the 2 tires down here, but we've got to go 50 laps. Felt like that was the safe call. Remember, they don't need to do anything tricky here today. They're already through to Miami. They want to take care of things. Kelly?
Yeah, just ahead of him is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 17 car. A great run early in this. Now, I know they took 2 tires to help get that track position, but when I talked to crew chief Brian Patty, he told me this is the best pace they've had in a race car in quite some time. He told me he was going to be aggressive with his pit calls because he really felt like if they could get Ricky track position and get up front, they felt like they had a car good enough to hold it.
And I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has proven just how good of a race car driver he is. When Matt Kenseth came in, it was still Ricky Stenhouse Jr. running the best for Roush Fenway. Kevin Harvick up front, still leading in Texas. It's Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas. This telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Kevin Harvick out front, 2.6 seconds over Kurt Busch, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Jones. Want to see who's on the move? Brought to you by Chevrolet. Eric Almirola started at the back of the field, has made up 30 spots. Martin Truex Jr., a little pit strategy, 25 spots for that team. Kelly.
And as you can see there, Eric Almirola has now cracked his way into the top 10. He said they were going to have their work cut out for him, and they're making good progress. They told me their mindset coming into this race was that, you know, they really don't know if they'll ever have the opportunity to race for a championship again. So they said it's been interesting seeing how this really elevates everyone's game, how much pressure. They're not letting the pressure get to them, Rick.
And just behind Almirola, Trevor Bayne back there, but it's Kurt Busch and Logano now who are fighting for the 2nd position.
Logano's been fast all weekend. After that win last weekend, a lot of excitement, enthusiasm with this 22 car. Some people think he shouldn't have moved Martin Truex Jr. out of the way, but all I know is he's going to Miami with a chance to win the championship, and a lot of speed here has to give them some confidence. You know, a fast mile and a half. It has to give them some confidence that they can go and compete at Miami. And also behind Logano is Blaney, his teammate. And also the 2 car, Keselowski's been fast all week. So Penske bringing some speed to the racetrack.
Yeah, both these guys, Kurt Busch and Logano, ran up in the top 5 the first stage of the April race here earlier this year. So just continuing that speed.
Right side of the screen, this battle continues. Even after the pit stop, Chase Elliott still working on the 21 of Paul Menard. Dale, it always makes me laugh. You could go 400 or 500 miles and race the same 1 or 2 cars all day. It looks like so far for Chase Elliott, it's been the 21 of Paul Menard. The concern now, though, is that 10 of Eric Almirola is closing in.
Yeah, Eric passed Trevor Bayne many laps ago and drove up to the back of these guys and kind of stuck right here in this dirty air, waiting on one of them to make a mistake, much like Chase Elliott made that mistake to get off the bottom to give the position to Menard. It's so easy to slip a tire here, and it's going to cost you position if you get up off that bottom groove.
Such an important time right now for the drivers to be talking to their teams, telling them what their cars are doing, so that when the caution comes out at the end of stage 1 in 28 laps, they have time to think about what changes they're going to make. So these drivers just aren't driving around just trying to pass somebody. They're also such an important job to be communicating right now, Dave.
Paul Menard was given 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on that first stop. When I asked Greg Irwin this morning, how would you know when you're good, or when will you know how good your car is? He said about the middle of the first stage. Well, I'd say running now, about 8th. Paul's feeling pretty good, and so's the crew chief, Marty.
Chase Elliott in 9th, trying to get that 8th spot from Paul Menard, who watched the battle for 2nd on the left-hand side of the screen, actually for 3rd between teammates Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. You know, Chase Elliott struggled all weekend in practice. Junior, you mentioned it, but trying to hold off Eric Almirola right now. But Alan Gustafson told me, listen, Chase sometimes doesn't practice with the pace he does in the race, but when we show up at race time, that shows up. Jeff, you've heard of practice players and stick and ball sports. Maybe Chase Elliott is that, but he's certainly been opportunistic in these playoffs.
Yeah, that's hard for a crew chief to understand, though, you know, because a crew chief has the tools that he has, and that's the driver, what he's telling him, and also the timesheet. If your times don't look good, Steve, it makes you want to have to make major changes to your car when sometimes you don't need to.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a small tweak that finds some more speed in your race car. 2 drivers trying to recover. The 18 of Kyle Busch, remember, he was 5th before the yellow. He took 4 tires, but caught speeding, had to go to the back. Here he is right here making a run on his teammate Daniel Suarez in the 19. This will be for the 12th position. Suarez is going to let him go to the bottom. Well, you see the biggest movers on the top left of your screen. The 2 of Brad Keselowski, another car that was caught speeding on pit road, had to restart 25th. Well, he's recovered to 17th. While 17th is not where he wants to be, at least he's moving forward, but you see the traffic in front of him. Patience here. Patience will be very important. 273 laps to go.
And points are very important. And now with just 24 laps to go in stage 1, there are points available at the end of stage 1. We know for sure that going into Miami, at least one of the championship 4 will get there based on points. So the drivers are going to be fighting to get into the top 10 to gain those points.
And you mentioned points, 24 laps. The top 10 will get points, 10 points to win a stage, 1 point for 10th. So only the top 10 receive points. We just talked about Kyle Busch in the 12th position. That's 0. He has to get up there, somehow get in front of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's currently 10th. Unfortunately for Kyle Busch, him and Clint Bowyer are the only 2 playoff cars not inside the top 10, so he'll be losing ground to the field. Kelly?
We see Kyle Larson in the 42 there. They're trying to recover from a slow pit stop. When they were on pit road, they had a lug nut actually get stuck in the hat of the brake on the right front, so that took some extra time to make that tire change. They did not have a good qualifying effort, but when I talked to Chad Johnson, the crew chief on this team, he felt much better about the car they had in race pace. So right now, Kyle Larson running 17th but trying to move forward.
We talked about points. Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick came into the start of this race tied in points. Well, Harvick is leading here at Texas. You're watching NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series Racing, the AAA Texas 500. Coming up on Wednesday, make sure to join Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte as they will join the morning drive Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern on NASCAR Radio Channel 90. That's NBC Sports on Sirius XM. And again, Burton Letarte will be joining the morning drive crew 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. Kevin Harvick has a 2.3 second lead over Kurt Busch. Ryan Blaney just behind Kurt Busch. Then it's Logano, Eric Jones rounding out the top 5. Martin Truex Jr. has made it up to 6. Paul Menard, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, and Kyle Busch all inside the top 10.
Kevin Harvick leading this race. Such a dominant duo. Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers, ever since they've been paired together, they have just won races, championships, continue to have a ton of speed. But, you know, another dominant duo, probably the one paving the way, at least for the last decade. Chad Knaus and Jimmie Johnson announced earlier this year this two would be splitting up at the end of this season, which was quite remarkable to hear. I think we all knew it was coming at some point, didn't know what it was going to be. But how about this? 600 starts together. That's amazing that a crew chief and a driver, even as good as you and I got along, 600 starts is a long time to think of the ups and downs of the Cup Series.
Yeah, but the fact that they're splitting up doesn't mean that neither one of them is going to not be in the garage next year. I was really surprised by that. I think that Chad Knaus is going to continue to be a crew chief. Jimmy's going to continue racing. Great battle right here.
That's crazy race right here. Eric Jones just got by Joey Logano. They caused some lap traffic. Eric Jones was able to get by him. How about Eric Jones? He's a guy that we thought if he could get in these playoffs, advance through the playoffs, he could do some damage. And he's run really well in these playoffs. Unfortunately, wasn't able to advance. But Eric Jones running in 4th place right now. Could he be a guy that jumps up there and gets a win, takes a win away from these playoff teams?
Well, it's been a story of the playoffs for Eric Jones. Jeff, think about this. Other than the first round, where he finished 40th, 11th, and 30th, he's been in the top 10 really for the last 8 or 9 races. He's been on a hot streak. He just couldn't keep it when the playoffs started, Marty.
And at one of his best racetracks, Steve, up in the 4th position. That's where he finished in the spring as well. And really, the 20 team has been contributing to JGR as a whole. JGR in these playoffs kind of running some new setup concepts that the 20 team developed. They started running at Darlington. A lot of the teams, in fact, all the JGR teams running it today, including the 78. So they've really been not only doing well on the racetrack, but a trendsetter for JGR overall.
I get the sense that this 20 car is going to be a real threat next year. I feel like they're starting to get themselves together, understand how to race the Cup level. This is the traffic we were talking about. We're going to see this all day long. In the back of the 38 car of David Reagan, you have to push the issue here. You want to pass these guys on the straights, not in the corners, and force you to be real aggressive. We're going to see things like this.
Yeah, I think that he probably would have given him a little more time had he not had the 22 and the 78 the tricks so close behind him, ready to take that position. You have to go.
How about this battle right here? Kyle Busch has run Eric Almirola down for 9th position, and just ahead of them is Chase Elliott.
And things heating up. Less than 10 laps to go in stage 1. And again, points so important now. All the drivers, with the exception of Clint Bowyer, that are a part of the playoffs are inside the top 10. Bowyer, who's 2 laps down, currently running 30th.
Kyle Busch in that 10th position. So he's inside those points at the end of the stage, but points ahead of him. Eric Almirola, who's up the racetrack now. Kyle Busch likes to see that.
That's a great example right there, Junior, of Eric Almirola just not hitting his marks. Drove into one a little too hard. Didn't get the left sides on the white line, and once you miss it, you're never going to get back to the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't know if he's trying to run that line intentionally, but it's just not there yet. These guys are going to have to stay on the bottom. We may see that outside line start to work around in the 3rd stage of the race, but right now, there's no rubber out there. It's just dirt. It's a dirty groove.
Well, now he's closing in on Chase Elliott, who's still trying to pass Paul Menard. This battle's been happening, but look in front of Paul Menard, too wide.
So David Reagan again is going to create an issue and a challenge for Menard. The 9 car having to go high around that lap car as well as the 18. All those guys.
That 18 was high. It did not want to turn up a lane.
You got Landon Castle right here in front of these guys. What lane's he going to choose? That's the hard part about entering turn 1. You don't get out against the fence going into turn 1, so there's no reference points for where the lap car is going to go. Is it going to go to the inside, the outside? It's going to give you which lane to go through. And
now the question is, how aggressive should Kyle Busch be? Is he going to push the issue for these couple of points, or just be happy he's recovered?
I think he's just going to go, man. He loves the way his car's driving. Seems to have good speed coming up through the field here. He's going to push the issue here. If he can, there's so much off-throttle time going down into turn 1. Listen here. Off-throttle. All the way to this point right here. So much off-throttle. And that allows, if you can get close enough entering the corner, you can drive in. Kyle Busch can drive into the back of that 9 car and upset the back of the 9 car aerodynamically because he's off the throttle. You kind of give away your corner as well, but it moves the 9 off the bottom. Makes him have to really check up and gives you an opportunity to take that position.
Hey, Junior, 5 to go here in stage 1. So, Steve, I want to ask you a quick question. We saw 6 teams go with 2 tires at the competition caution, but those 4 tires seemed to kind of mow through the field. Blaney made his way up to 3rd a moment ago, just lost that to Eric Jones a second ago. So what do you think? Your track also seems to be taking rubber. Would you go with 2 or 4 here at the end of stage 1?
Well, I think 2 tires have held on nicely. They're 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, as well as 5th with Martin Truex Jr. But in this caution coming up, I'm taking 4 tires for the simple reason that I need about 15 or 16 gallons worth of fuel. That takes 10 or 11 seconds. That would tell me to put 4 tires on it. It's really just how many tires you need, or excuse me, how much fuel you need, Jeff, is going to determine how many tires you take.
It's going to be tough calls all day. Look right along with Blaney. Drove to the 41, the back of the 41. Junior just talked about it. You want to get to the back of that car that's in front of you, and it takes air off. But if you don't get all the way there, this is what happens. It takes the air off of your car. Luckily, he didn't get into the side of that. I'm not sure who that was on the outside of him. It may have been Reed Sorensen, but luckily he didn't make contact. That's how difficult turn 1 is, Rick. There's just no banking over there, no grip. And if you don't do everything perfectly, if you push this a little too hard, you're in save mode, no longer racing. You're just trying to keep from wrecking.
Blaney caught it, and he fell back to 4th. So Harvick, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, and Blaney top 4. So that's 2 non-playoff drivers that are up inside the top 5. As we see the big run here, as you mentioned, of Kyle Busch in the 18 getting by Chase Elliott. And again, Kyle Busch, the speeding penalty on pit road put him to the back, but he's fought back well as he moves up to 8th now and moves Chase Elliott down into the 9th spot. Eric Almirola in 10th. Under 2 laps to go. Harvick, who has won the first stage the last 2 Texas races, is looking to make it a clean sweep. 3 races in a row potentially for Kevin Harvick, and it was strategy on pit road. Remember, he only took 2 tires. He took right side tires, as did Kurt Busch. Those 2 were able to get out front, and that track position has been key. So Kevin Harvick will make his way back out of turn 4, and he will win stage 1. Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr. all the top 5. Then it's Joey Logano. Paul Menard. Menard actually falling behind Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch moving up to 7th. Menard to 8th. Chase Elliott and Eric Almirola rounding out the top 10. Kevin Harvick, 17th stage win of this year. Is open. Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch will be making their way, leading all of the lead lap cars to pit road. Dave, headed your way.
Kurt Busch had 2nd place, 9 stage points coming to that green and white checkered flag. His car was just a little bit tight. Crew Chief Billy Scott said we're going to go a little bit more air pressure in the same direction to help free that car up. As for Kevin Harvick, his car was a little bit tight as well, especially off of turn 2. I expect both these drivers to get 4 Goodyear tires and a full fill of Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Dave Martin Truex Jr. finished 5th in that stage, getting the points that he said he wanted after starting at the back of the field today. Said on those 2 tires from that competition caution stop, the car was just way too tight, rolling the center. It wouldn't want to turn. 4 fresh Goodyear tires and air pressure adjustment, trying to free up that 78 car.
Race off pit road brought to you by Coca-Cola. And holding their spots, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones. Logano with a good stop, gains 2. Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas. Telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. What a huge facility here as we look at the stage 1 results presented by Coca-Cola. 3 drivers outside of the playoffs gaining some points, but more importantly, Kevin Harvick, he gets 10 points for winning the stage. Martin Truex Jr. only 6. Those 2 came into this race tied. So already Harvick flexing his muscle, gaining a few extra points. If there was a place to get a taco in the infield at Texas Motor Speedway, Rutledge, where would I find that?
Rick, well, you'd find it right here at Torchy's with an ice cold Coca-Cola as well. Texas Motor Speedway is all about giving the fans what they want, and Torchy's is it. If you've ever been out here to Texas, you know how good Torchy's is. It is so delicious. But that's not all, guys. They also put in a full-service 7-Eleven. Take a look at this video. Eddie Gossage was out handing out Slurpees the other day to everybody that came by. It's a full-service, 24 hours a day 7-Eleven on site here. And whether you're Torchy himself or the two Canadians that are joining me here at the table from London, Ontario, they've got everything you could possibly need. That's two, count 'em, Rick, two great spots for the fans, and they got ice cold Coca-Cola at both of them.
And thankfully, we have visited both of those stops, Torchy's, as well as the 7-Eleven. We went there this morning, didn't we?
Had a great visit at 7-Eleven. That place is stocked like it's a regular store.
5,000 square feet. That's 7-Eleven. Normal 7-Eleven's 2,500 square feet, so twice the size of a normal 7-Eleven here at Texas.
Never too early for a
Slurpee.
7-Eleven.
I might have got a bear claw, too. It was excellent.
Yes, we did.
So we continue to talk about the difficulties of this racetrack. Well, I think they have been they've gone up with the change of the racetrack, Dale.
Yeah, we see why guys are getting loose down there in turn 1 and 2. They widened this racetrack from 58 to 78 feet. And when they widened it, when they brought that bottom groove toward the inside wall, that lowered the banking. That changed the banking on this racetrack from 24 degrees all the way down to 20 degrees. Flatter. It's flatter. It's tougher to get a hold of. It's new asphalt, hard tire.
Well, and it's a compromise for the crew chief. I now can't make the car drive great at both ends. And then as a driver, Jeff, it's just going to be a little unnerving that you have to drive the two ends so dramatically differently.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. It was done on purpose. The reason they did it was they were trying to create an opportunity for drivers to pass, make both ends of the racetrack differently. Maybe your car is really good in 3 and 4, and somebody else's car is really good in 1 and 2. So on purpose, they made it harder to drive in turns 1 and 2.
We heard Kevin talking earlier about the decision. Which line would he like for the restart? He took the inside the last time. He's done it again. He will take the inside, and the 41 of Kurt Busch will be on the outside as the field approaches the Geico restart zone. Points on the side of your screen.
Kurt is on that quarter panel. Harvick did not get clear this time. Look at Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch around the outside. He doesn't have the grip out there. He's going to give it up.
That's the problem. So high on corner exit that he just wasn't able to maintain that speed. Now Kevin Harvick making a run at him. How close did the 41 get to the 4 car? Not close enough. Now Joey Logano trying to take advantage.
Here comes Logano in the 22. He's going to fight for that second spot.
Now what does Kurt do? The whole line of cars behind him trying to go to the bottom and pass him. He's got to try to fight on this outside. And he does. He gets in there good, but he can't complete the pass. He can't stay in the gas on corner exit.
Joey Logano knows that, so Joey's goal is to get that right front fender to his left rear quarter pound, just like he did. Now the 41, Kurt Busch just drives to the bottom. Fill that hole, almost like Martinsville. Short track, you got to be on the bottom.
Air brakes when he gets that fender to that quarter panel, Rick. Air brakes with that side draft.
Yeah, found that opening.
I did like that outside groove a lot better this time than what I saw earlier in the race. Those guys are going to get more and more aggressive out there. It is going to come into play as an option, not the preferred line, but it will be there in that third stage.
And remember, on that restart, it was the 4 of Kevin Harvick. He gets to fire first because he's the race leader. But we saw how well the 41 was able to use that outside line on the initial run into turn number 1. So maybe that outside line will start working more on restarts once they realize that they can get a better run into turn 1.
Absolutely. Every restart they gain more and more confidence in that outside groove. You see Kurt, he learned something right there that he can apply for the next restart.
Here comes Ryan Blaney. He'll fly by the 20 of Eric Jones. Take that spot as they go through turns 3 and 4, where they're going 180 miles an hour through the middle of that turn.
It's just crazy.
And the caution has come out. The 24.
Come in. That's the last one. Come on.
A couple cars around.
Jimmy Cromwell got into him a little bit here. I can't see the right.
William Byron see a little bit of damage on the left front. And William Byron, we had mentioned earlier about the separation of Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus. Well, the crew chief for William Byron in 2019 will be Chad Knaus. And it was the 48 that was involved. above Texas Motor Speedway. Aerial coverage today provided by Coca-Cola. Welcoming Coca-Cola on board. And let's look again at what just happened with 48-24.
Yeah, down into turn 3. Really early. Look, Jimmy's already spinning out right there. I mean, this is just not like the way these cars are supposed to drive. I mean, these drivers don't deal with these kind of conditions anywhere else at any other racetrack where they're spinning out before they ever get to the corner. Look at the wheels, though. Look how hard he's got it turned to the left. Jimmy trying to keep it out of the fence, just cranked full left, full lock to the left to save that car from going into the fence. William Byron, just unfortunate for him to be in that position. Lucky that he didn't get any more damage than that in that situation, but those front tires with those tires are hilarious. And then when it hooks up, you know, he has the presence of mind to steer it out of that. But what is crazy is that that car spun out really literally almost up on the straightaway.
Yeah.
Guys got their hands full.
Well, guys, during the playoffs, the NASCAR shop is going to help you take care of your fandom to that next level. You can get t-shirts, jackets, hats, die-cast. Just visit NASCAR.com/shop for all of your favorite drivers' gear.
Saw on that last restart, Kurt Busch almost made the outside work. It looked like to me Kurt Busch could have fallen in behind Kevin Harvick getting into turn 1. Decided not to. He trusted that outside lane enough to drive up on the outside of Harvick. Beat him through the middle of the corner, but he could not beat him on corner exit. Now, they have scuffed tires. Scuffed tires have taken off faster all weekend long. Let's see if Joey Logano can make the outside work. We also have Stewart Haas cars on the bottom, Penske cars on the outside.
Joey's going to be able to stay on that quarter panel. Going to be able to be side by side with the 4 car down into turn 1.
There's him right there. This is the part. Can he keep speed on corner exit? This is where Kurt Busch couldn't earlier. Joey Logano couldn't as well.
Now, what will Joey do down here? Will he back off? Yes, he's going to back off and give that position up. Not going to try that outside groove in 3 and 4.
We're going to take a look at some laps from above, brought to you by Coca-Cola.
It's a great shot to be able to show you the different lines, the different approaches into turn 1. Some guys will turn real early, get to that white line. Some will use a little bit of an arc, get to the line a little bit later. Joey Logano loose behind Kevin Harvick right there.
Yeah, it looked like he might have just got into the apron a little bit from that view. You're trying to stay as low as you can. There's a little bit of grip down there. The closer to that white line, closer to that apron you can be, the better the grip is for the car. But bounce that splitter into that apron, it's going to knock up the racetrack just a little bit.
See Truex getting underneath Eric Jones. Eric Jones didn't just give it up. He decided to try that outside lane. Look how high he is on corner exit.
Here comes those guys behind him.
Yeah, now he's got to hope they don't get to him. He went way to the bottom. Let him know, hey, I'm going to block you. Don't even try it.
That's right. That move there was like, hey, I see you coming. Look at the 18 up off the bottom. Keselowski moved 18 up off the bottom aerodynamically.
And that's going to lose another spot for the 18. Now watch Kyle Busch. Watch him go to the bottom. I'm not going to let you here. Kyle Busch going to have to get his left side to the white line. Did not do it. He didn't get all the way to the bottom. Going to give a shot for Chase Elliott. Chase couldn't take advantage of it. Behind him. Action.
Yeah, that move to the inside down the back straightaway is a move that a driver makes to say, hey, you know, I see you coming. I'm not going to let you have the inside. If you want it, you can have the outside. None of those guys are going to ever attempt that just yet.
Look how close Elliott is right now. Kyle Busch with that arc into turn 1. Very impressive. He's able to get that arc that high. I think that's about the highest arc we've seen all weekend and still get it to the bottom. Fun racing.
So Kyle Busch running in the 9th spot. Chase Elliott is behind him in 10th. Kevin Harvick continuing to lead. Logano running 2nd. Kurt Busch is 3rd. Ryan Blaney 4th. Martin Truex Jr. in 5th. Chase Elliott, the youngest of those fighting for a championship, remaining at 22 years old, from Dawsonville, Georgia. He's the son of Hall of Famer Bill Elliott. And again, when Bill Elliott used to win, they would ring the siren at the pool hall there in Dawsonville. They've done that now with Chase Elliott. He competed in Pro late models, legends as a teenager, then K&N Series for Hendrick Motorsports through 2011 and 12. As part of the NASCAR Next class, 2012 and 2013. You see some familiar faces in that picture. And then, of course, the championship in the Xfinity Series in 2014.
And Chase Elliott, when he was growing up, won a ton of huge late model races around the country. He and his dad going around racing together. Did such a good job, made a huge impression on late models around the country, late model racers. But here's the situation he's in now. You see the playoffs. He's 45 points back. You know, they're getting to the position where they're going to have to win to get themselves in. You're going to have a lot of issues with people in front of them if you point your way in by being this far back.
And a tough situation. I mean, Chase Elliott here is the son of a Hall of Fame driver in NASCAR, so a lot of pressure was placed on him. But it's interesting that that Hall of Famer, Bill Elliott, doesn't put a lot of pressure on his son, Marty.
And that's a very good point, Rick. In fact, Bill is here this weekend, and he intentionally kind of stays away and stays back from Chase. He'll give him advice when he asks for it, but doesn't really offer it all that often. In fact, he's limited his trips to the racetrack over the last couple of years, saying, you know what, I want this to be Chase's thing. He obviously spotted for him at the big win at Watkins Glen, his first career Cup Series win, but he's here this weekend, kind of staying away on top of the roof right now.
How about this battle? Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez, they are going at it. The tensions are getting a little bit high. Remember, both of these guys are not in the playoffs any longer. Won some success. Front straightaway, Alex Bowman. Look at the contact. Won that spot.
And there's still a question mark as far as Daniel Suarez. The rumor is that Martin Truex Jr. will move over to Joe Gibbs Racing next year. And they're talking that more than likely it will be Daniel Suarez that will be out at Joe Gibbs Racing. And still question marks as to where he will end up.
60 laps to go in the second stage here at Texas. Talk about the dangers on pit road. It's not just the cars, but how about this? The lug nuts. 55 miles an hour. Lug nut can hurt. We'll go NASCAR nonstop.
Best tailgate, brisket.
No, real football y pollo asado.
Hoops and wings. Dude, subs.
Hot dogs.
Chili dog.
No, Dodger dog.
It's gotta be crawfish.
Now you're talking. Burgers.
7-layer dip. Ribs. No contest.
Hummus.
What?
You need a hot grill.
And an ice-cold Coke.
Of course.
Football and Coke. Come on.
It's got to be Coke.
Game day.
Race day.
Calls for Coke. You know it.
Grab yourself a Coke.
It's Tailgate 101.
Your microwave doesn't need another frozen meal, and neither do you. Only Carl's Jr. and Hardee's bring the heat with a variety of full-flavored all-star meals starting at $5. Get a real meal, paid for by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
Wow. Bank of America gives Rachel the power to stay on top of her money, so she's ready to make moves.
Think you can get this place? Really hope so. Erica, what's my credit score?
Your FICO score is 705.
That's good, right? Let me see. I think so.
Just talk, type, or tap to find better money habits, know-how, and more with Erica, your virtual financial assistant, only from Bank of America.
The demands are greater. The expectations higher. The jobs tougher. The world moves faster. So we made your truck even more capable with legendary Hemi power. No wonder more people are switching to Ram than ever before.
Now get 1,000 Black Friday bonus cash for an average $10,000 in total values on the all-new 2019 Ram 1500.
Some restaurants say you should drink your meals. Well, America deserves better. At Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, choose from a variety of full-flavored all-star meals starting at $5. Get a real meal, paid for by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
When the money's on the line and the championship's on the line, you have to be willing to risk a lot.
3, 2, 1.
I think it comes down to who wants it more.
At Phoenix, there's a lot on the line.
Don't miss your chance to win a custom truck built by NASCAR fans. Enter for your chance to win, and today only use promo code Lone Star to unlock 10 bonus entries. Go to NASCAR.com/playoffs promo and use promo code Lone Star. And from Illumination, creators of Despicable Me and The Secret Life of Pets, comes a unique reimagining of the beloved tale Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. That's in theaters on Friday. Speaking of the Grinch, he's been pretty stingy as far as guys that have been able to run up front. Kevin Harvick has led 86 laps already. Let's dive into the Stewart-Haas Racing drivers. Dave, you've got a couple of them.
And Rick, you remember in Countdown to Green, Kevin Harvick said, points don't matter to me, I want to win. I talked to his crew chief, Rodney Childers, about that. The value of winning instead of just moving on by way of getting lots of points. So the value of winning, part one, is that it gives these guys a chance to handle the pressure and not break. We have the cars and the driver that put the pressure on. Everyone else getting through it, that's of real value. As for Kurt Busch running in second place, his teammate is Kevin Harvick, who runs so well at mile-and-a-half tracks like this. Kurt has talked to Kevin's crew chief, Rodney Childers, about the fact that, yeah, I can follow your driver, I've studied him, but I just can't repeat what he does lap after lap. But that's still the goal for Kurt, who runs very well now in third place. Kelly?
Aric Almirola really needs to win this race or the next one to continue on to the championship four. But he and his crew chief, Johnny Kosmar, both feel like it's an advantage to have all four SH cars in the playoffs. They said back in the shop, everyone is highly motivated. Once they find something to make the cars better, it goes on every car. The teams continue to push each other. Everyone's raising their game. And he said right now, at a point in the season, when you've built body after body back at the shop, everyone is still super motivated and energized by having all four teams left in the championship hunt. Marty?
Kelly, to update you on the other Stewart-Haas driver in the playoffs, Clint Bowyer right now in 29th, down 2 laps after that contact on lap 1 where they lost a right rear tire. They thought about taking the wave around at the end of stage 1. They decided not to do that. Boy, were they kicking themselves when a caution came out early in stage 2. Mike Magaravich said, well, we've made our bed now. Nothing we can do about it. They did come in twice, though, at the end of stage 1 to make sure that right rear damage was fixed. It is fine right now. Clint Bowyer came in the weekend saying, we're not at DEFCON 5 yet with our situation, but if they can't get back on the lead lap here, Rick, they will be going into Phoenix next week.
Yeah, must-win situation for them. We have Keselowski, Almirola, and Kyle Busch running in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position. They're pretty close to each other.
We keep seeing these cars trying to make these passes. Well, watch Kyle Larson catching Ty Dillon. If you can get right to him, the car drives okay, but if you can't get all the way to him, it makes the cars drive really bad. Once again, another example of that air being taken off of the car, and Kyle Larson having to just completely chase his car up the racetrack. Something we've seen all day, and the drivers are talking about how if you can ever just get to the rear bumper, get all the way to that car, it doesn't hurt your car that much. But if you try to run up on a guy and you're a car length behind him, the air just goes completely away from your car, and it makes the car very, very difficult to maintain control of.
Jeff, yeah, what you're saying is basically to be able to pass a guy in turn 1 and 2, if you can drive right up to the back bumper, it'll get him loose. He will get loose and slide up off the bottom and give you the opportunity to drive around the inside up underneath him off the corner. But like you said, if you make an attempt to go in that far but don't get to his bumper, then you're in big trouble.
The other option is just to try to catch the guy, not paying a whole lot of attention, and turn early. Just try to get to the white line before he does, and hopefully it'll pack that air underneath his car, and then maybe he never can get back to the bottom.
Been watching this fight for 7th, and Erik Jones has made his way onto pit road. Marty.
Yeah, Rick, Erik Jones coming down pit road here, and this really is kind of splitting this stage in half. 45 laps to go here in stage 2. They're coming down pit road. Everybody saying they're going to have to gain some track position. Erik Jones with that wedge wrench going on the right side there. His car a little bit too tight on this run, and going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Steve, I'm wondering if this might bring other cars down pit road here with a 20 pitting for the top 5.
Yeah, Marty, I don't think it's going to be as clear-cut at other tracks just because newer tires are not necessarily much faster. At other tracks, that can be upwards of a second or a second and a half faster. So maybe not right away, but if Erik Jones goes back on the racetrack right here and runs 1 blistering lap, Dale, instantly all the crew chiefs will be yelling to their drivers to get to pit road. So it's really how fast can how fast can Jones go here on the first lap on new tires?
It's a great battle right here. Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney. See right there, we talk about air. That's another example of air being taken off your car as he was trying to pass our buddy Parker Kligerman.
Yeah, he couldn't get in the throttle coming up off the corner with Parker in the outside groove, and it cost him a lot of time. But these guys in front of him, they're going to run up on more traffic and allow him to close that gap back up. Blaney's sitting here trying to take advantage of this lap traffic on Kurt Busch.
You know, the difference in today's race and yesterday's race is that, you know, Kurt Busch, he isn't going to miss that bottom. You know, he's raced so long. He has so much experience. He knows he's just going to have to slow his car down, do what he has to do to get to the bottom to keep Ryan Blaney from passing him.
Kelly.
And Rick, Jimmy Johnson now running 22nd. We saw him have his hands full, get sideways with that 48 a handful of laps ago. Well, his issues really started at the beginning of the race when he was sent to the rear for failing tech. The thing is, they only failed tech twice before the race and were under the impression that did not require a start from the rear. They tried to argue their point several times, but it became a moot point once the race started. Well, then Chad actually told Jimmy not long ago that NASCAR said they did make a mistake by starting the 48 from the rear.
Kelly, I spoke to Steve O'Donnell. The 48 car was supposed to start 23rd today. You mentioned he went to the back. I understood the rule, as Chad Knaus did, that 1 and 2 failures did not force you to go to the back. When I spoke to Steve O'Donnell, he said it was purely a communication failure between the garage area and the NASCAR officials in the garage area and the officials in the booth. It was a communication. They thought it had been 3. It had only been 2. For that reason, the 48 was penalized. I'm confident this is something we're going to hear addressed after the race and something that NASCAR is going to have to clean up moving forward. Just too much on the line to have that sort of mistake. It's more complicated, Rick. You and I were having this conversation. You know, with these differing schedules, if you fail after qualifying, you lose your time. This was not the case. So either way, a misinformed penalty for the 48 as we see the 18 on pit road.
Yeah, and we saw Kyle Busch lose a few positions on track. He was pretty quiet until he came over to tell his crew chief it's just not here right now. I don't know what we did. I've got tire chatter. So they are going to go back on an air pressure adjustment they made last time down pit road. Meanwhile, you see the chassis adjustment on the 42 of Kyle Larson. This is another team that has just been a little bit too tight on entry and exit, and he's been way too loose across the center, Dave.
Leaders on pit road. Kevin Harvick comes to a nice stop in his pit stall. He'll take 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. It took off just a little bit tight for him this last time, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. on pit road. He said his car in general was just a little bit too tight for him. A quick stop so far for the 78 bunch. Going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Very small air pressure adjustment. It's a track position game. Truex made that point several times on the radio during that run. And Ryan Blaney coming down pit road, our pole sitter, led the first 32 laps of the day. He kind of echoed the same thing Martin Truex Jr. said. Car's good. I just can't make any passes out here. He actually had a bad vibration. They thought about pitting, decided not to do it. Clearly a good decision, made it all the way. You see Chase Elliott on pit road as well. They're going to make a right side wedge adjustment. He said the right rear of the car was working better, but it's so edgy out there. If you miss your line by a little bit, you lose a lot of time, Kelly.
Well, you see the 10 there of Eric Almirola. He said his 10 car was chattering a little bit there, and he said he's just really way too tight in traffic. So they're going to give him 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, make an air pressure adjustment for Eric Almirola.
So, Steve, I got a question for you here with all these pit stops happening. One guy that has not stopped, Joey Logano, won the race last week. Who does he not want to win? He does not want to see Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch. He don't want to see them advance. So what is him staying out right here? How does that affect them?
Well, that's the advantage, right? It's basically he has them all trapped a lap down right now. We just mentioned that new tires are worth something, but not a ton. So it's not a huge gamble for the 22. I like this strategy. It's a win and only a win unless you can force one of your competitors not to win. Try to maybe adjust who makes it into the final 4. It's aggressive, but I like the aggressive call.
We'll see how aggressive Todd Gordon and the 22 team are going to be. How long will they stay out? Will they dive to pit road here shortly? Or as you mentioned, Jeff, can they affect their toughest competitors by staying out and maybe keeping them a lap down?
It's an advantage to win it early in the playoffs, Steve.
Marty.
Development from one of our big three. Martin Truex Jr. says he has a vibration after that stop. They are checking with all the tire changers to make sure they got the lug nuts tight. Cole Pearn said, run it for now. Let's see what happens. Jeff, tough situation for a driver. Clearly, you know you pit, you're in trouble. You're going to lose a ton of points, but you clearly don't want to let a tire go either.
Unfortunately, you're the one that's got to make the decision. It's a difficult decision. The last thing you want to do is hit pit road, and they say, hey, saw nothing wrong. You just have to trust your gut and do what it tells you to do.
And Jeff, if I'm Todd Gordon, the crew chief for the 22, and I see Truex pitting extra time, I am going to run this thing until I am on fumes, because I'll have him trapped 2 laps down. That's a guy I don't want to race in Miami. Can I help eliminate Martin Truex Jr. for the playoffs? I would do anything to do. Even though there might be bad blood last week, they're still racing each other.
The strategy continues to come into play even after the win for Logano. They stay out front here at Texas.
And while we were away at break here at Texas Motor Speedway, the 18 of Kyle Busch came to pit road. Kyle felt a vibration, tried to wait it out for a minute, and then suddenly made the decision on his own to come to pit road. So it was some hard racing on track with the 2 of Brad Keselowski, but then Kyle Busch ducked to pit road. They took 4 new Goodyear tires.
Let's take a look at the replay here. Coming off turn 4, chasing the car behind, up the racetrack behind Landon Castle. You see it right there, but that's not why he came down pit road. He came down pit road because he thought he had a loose wheel. I talked to some drivers who tested here, and when they put this tire on the car, a lot of these guys knew they put it on the car because this tire has a habit of shaking. They said, is that the Michigan right side tire? Because I know it's shaking a little bit. So that's what I think some of these drivers may be feeling. As far as Martin Truex Jr. says he has a vibration, but his guys on pit road are saying that they've got all the lugs tight. So stay out there and trust that the wheels are good, but this just may be a tire issue. The 18, on the other hand, he must have felt it getting worse and worse and worse. He knows he can't come down pit road, but it must have been so bad that it brought him to pit road.
Well, listen, the 18, I don't think can risk it. I mean, he's still above the cut line, 5 points above, right? So if say it's a wheel, a broken wheel or something crazy, and he has a DNF because of that vibration, it is a major hit. This right here, even though he's still costing a lot of points, he's still 5 above. He still has a chance.
Yes. Tough call for, and Jeff said it before that it's the driver's call. How bad is it? You make the call. You're driving the car. So you're going to try to stay out there as long as you can. But, man, it gets so bad sometimes that you just know it's about to come off in the next corner. And you got to come down pit road.
And as I mentioned, Joey Logano, he knows he has Kyle Busch 2 laps down. That is where he wants to keep this driver of the 18. So I believe the 22 is going to run absolutely to the limit of their fuel window here.
Looks like he's got about another 15 laps, Steve, as far as fuel windows go.
Well, he's got 52, almost 55. I don't think he can go that far. I think he's only probably 4 or 5 away from coming to pit road.
Okay. So right now Logano is playing this strategy, and while playing the strategy, he has put the big 3 in a huge situation as far as jeopardy of not making it into the championship 4. Right now, it's Martin Truex Jr. and Kurt Busch who are tied at the cut line. So the possibility of the 78, Martin Truex Jr. not being able to defend his championship, and you look back to 2 races not that long ago, the Roval at Charlotte, where he looked as though he was going to win that race, and of course you look back to Martinsville 1 week ago when Joey Logano pushed him out of the way and Logano ended up winning.
Also on that strategy that Logano is using to stay out on the racetrack is Kurt Busch, one of our playoff eligible drivers, staying on the racetrack this long run, trying to hope to get a caution to trap some of these guys that he's trying to beat to get to Homestead a couple laps down. He was a driver that gained some points in that first stage. He got 9 points in that first stage.
Well, the reason Kurt Busch is liking what he's seeing is, look at 2 points below the cut line.
There he is. He's on pit road. The gig is up.
The gig is up. 25 points was looking good. He was 2 points below before he pitted, Dave.
And Steve, that car was a little bit difficult to turn in the corners. He was working that track bar inside the race car to try to keep up with it. But he'll take 4 fresh Goodyears here, a Phil Sunoco fuel and air pressure adjustment to try to keep him in the game. Remember, he's been inside of all the leaders today, but has not been one of them. And so he'd like to try to fix that a little bit better right now.
So I'm curious where he's going to come out when, you know, he stayed out on the racetrack, hoping to get a caution. He was running third when all this pit sequence started. He stayed out. Let's see where he comes out after the pit stop. See how bad it hurt him.
I was watching the lap times, and I was surprised. I guess I'm not surprised. We talked about how durable this tire was, and he wasn't way off.
Their points leader, the 22's on pit road, Logano.
Here's some fuel, 2 rounds on a left rear.
And Junior, the 22 car, they said it was going to make a wedge adjustment. It was a little bit tough in traffic, a little tight in traffic. So he told Joey, I'm doing a wedge adjustment. Make sure you adjust your track bar. I know you were a fan of that self-adjusting track bar, Junior. So what would that be? If you've been moving it up to try to free your car up, I guess you got to move it back down on pit road, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you make that adjustment throughout the run, it's great to get reminded by your crew chief, hey, anything that you've changed on the car during the run, maybe reset that for the start. You don't want to go out there and have the track bar 1.5 inches, 2 inches up and go out there and spin out or complain to your crew chief, hey, the car's loose, what'd you do to it? Well, it's what you did to it. It's that track bar that you left up.
That gamble we talked about with the 41 car staying out on the racetrack for a long time. Looks like he's going to cost him about 5 spots. Staying on the racetrack, hoping for a caution, trying to make something happen. A little bit of a loss to see how bad hurts him when this stage ends. NASCAR nonstop.
Kind of a Texas-inspired dish. So it's beef, it's mesquite, and then we put a little tortilla cheese on there. It's going to pair really well with your Cokes right here. So jump in.
Every kind of food, I try to make it spicy.
You need a little more heat?
I forget we have to drive later today. Just so yeah. You know. How spicy are we talking? Because
Toyota, let's go places.
And the award goes to Kendra.
I gotta go. I just want. Oh my gosh. I want to thank my mom, my manager, my babysitter. Look, girls, mommy's on TV. Time to go to bed.
Ma'am, your order is ready.
And I like to thank my dog walker.
Your order's ready.
It feels like a big win when you get a deal like this. Introducing McDonald's new $6 Classic Meal Deal. Choose one of 4 favorites. Plus, any size soft drink, small fries, and a pie. All for just $6.
Bank of America gives Matt the power to stay on top of his money, so he keeps Brutus comfortable.
Erica, when was my last transaction at Pupper Pillows?
Okay, here's what I found.
Well, that went by fast. Hey, buddy. Want to take a ride to the pet store?
Just talk, type, or tap to view past transactions and more. It's easier than ever with Erica, your virtual financial assistant, only from Bank of America.
A lot of talk going on these days about who is the greatest ever, about who has the titles, the raw talent. I get it. It's a tough call. Maybe the best way to settle this debate is to play it out head to head. I'll watch that.
Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas Motor Speedway, telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Well, the Monster Energy Cup Series playoffs will head to Phoenix and ISM Raceway next weekend. It's the last chance to catch NASCAR's best drivers as they will battle for the final spots in the championship. For the pressure is on. You will definitely want to be there. Join us for that. NASCAR.com/tickets to purchase your tickets today. Kevin Harvick back up front.
Yeah, that was a pass to lead right there. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson staying on the racetrack. Hoping for a caution here.
Unfortunately for the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he pitted under green. He ran that strategy where he ran nice and long. But look at this right front tire. Jackman gets it going. Tire changer slips.
He was trying to stay close to
He
that
was
tire.
trying. 1 R. You got to be within an arm.
No!
Oh! Oh, man.
That's pretty close still, fellas.
Yeah, a little credit.
Yeah, I think, though, when he was on the ground and the tire was still rolling, that's going to be uncontrolled. So, unfortunately for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he had to make another pit stop, currently 1 lap down.
You know, we talk about timing plays in other sports, right? Football, basketball, there's some plays about time, and that's a great example of how something, they rehearsed that so much, and something interrupted the timing. That's that little slip of him kept him from being close enough to the tire. There's no way you can plan for those things, Marty.
Hey, Jeff, Clint Boyer, Mike Bugger Ravage kind of throwing some Hail Marys here, but by running long, they haven't pitted since lap 96. They have now put themselves just 1 lap down. Now the leader is on the same straightaway as them, so they will have to pit here with 9 to go in this stage before this stage ends. But their plan, Steve, fuel only. So they're trying to do everything in their playbook that they can to stay at least 1 lap down, and then eventually trying to get back on the lead lap, playing all those strategies.
Yeah, and I like that idea. Just reduce the amount of time you're on pit road. I think Jimmy Johnson, currently in the 2nd position, has that same opportunity with only 8 laps to go. Maybe they're going to try to gamble, do something crazy here to try to get some track position, overcome those issues they had from the start of the race.
You mentioned crazy. Well, the start of this race was crazy for Clint Boyer as he got into the 11. They had damage. That's why he's a couple laps down. Boyer, a 39-year-old from Emporia, Kansas, began racing actually on 2 wheels in motocross at 5 years old, raced modifieds and then street stocks as a teenager. He is an Xfinity Series champion. He won that Xfinity Series championship in 2008 as we see him coming to pit road now. Also 2002 NASCAR Weekly Racing Series champion. And he'll make his way to pit road, as Steve mentioned. The best thing to do, and Marty as well, just a fuel-only stop.
And Rick, to show you how much they were willing to risk it, they told Boyer to run until your car stumbles. These drivers have a reserve switch inside the car. He flipped the reserve switch as soon as it stumbled and then came to pit road. There's the fuel-only stop. He's going to go back down to 2 laps down here, but this sets him up to maybe take the wave around, Steve, at the end of the stage, which is coming in just 5 laps.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. They didn't put enough fuel in it, I think, to take the wave around. I think he's that close right there. You see the 4 go by him? It was a work. I understand the strategy, but they missed it by about 20 car lengths. And that's going to hold them 2 laps down. They had to do something. This race didn't start the way they wanted. But that gamble, that gas-only gamble, you see right there, 20 car lengths behind the 4. 2 laps down.
Well, it's actually going to put him 3 laps down. When the 4 got by him, that put him 3 down. He pitted, got 2 down, and then the 4, that put him 3. So that's going to be really hard to claw out of. Now, he won't pit this next time and get one of those back, but he's actually 3 down now. Oh, and no.
Penalty on pit road. Over the wall too soon for the team. So the hits just keep coming.
All right, what's the deal here, Steve? 4 to go. 3 to go now.
Pit road closes at 2 to go.
I've asked that question, that how many laps do you have, and they have told me that once you are notified, you have to pit on the next lap. Okay. So I expect Clint Boyer to come right here, and he better, because pit road will still close, and then he, in theory, could get another penalty. Let's take a look at the pit stop. Over the wall too soon. We'll see what the crew member's situation is. So I think basically it's the guy just sitting with his 2 feet over pit wall. I mean, he's in the pit box, and you're allowed to be in the pit box if you're doing dual duties or doing something. He doesn't even leave pit wall, but he's still in the pit area. So I'm assuming that would be the guy that NASCAR sees is over too soon. That's very frustrating when it's an unneeded penalty.
And it was pretty close. A caution almost coming out for Parker Kligerman.
Yeah, Ross Chastain and Parker Kligerman got together on the exit of turn 2. Oh, I wonder what was going on there that created that, because
look at the left front.
Yeah, Parker locks the left front down to save the car. Saves the car, but flattens the left front tire and ends up having to come down pit road to make a tire change. Kelly.
Hey, this stage end is going to come just in time for Kyle Busch, this 18 team. Kyle just came over the radio to say, I'm bottoming out on the left front. It's a brand new feeling. I've not felt that all day. And he said, I'm not sure if it's another loose wheel. Well, the pit crew didn't get too excited. Obviously, they've got that stage brake so they can bring him back down pit road now.
Stage 1 winner and Stage 2 winner, Kevin Harvick, putting on a dominant performance at Texas Motor Speedway as the 14 of Clint Boyer back on pit road, serving the penalty. Eric Jones, Kurt Busch, you see them In the top 10, Daniel Suarez is 9th, and Chase Elliott gaining 1 point. But now, points so valuable.
That comment by Kyle Busch there about the car bottoming out, that's really concerning, Steve, this far into a run.
Yeah, we discussed it with NASCAR, and it was absolutely that guy sitting on the pit wall with his 2 feet in the stall for the 14. So even when you're not involved in the stops, you have to pay attention.
Back at Texas Motor Speedway, pit stops have just happened. Kevin Harvick was the leader coming in. He took 4 tires. Others played a strategy of 2 tires only, so he was not the first one off of pit road, Marty.
Yes, Dave, lots of strategies here on pit road. Martin Truex Jr. went with 4 tires. He told Cole Pearn, you didn't help the fronts, and I just don't trust the car in 3 and 4. It wants to work its way up the hill. I can't have that. I got to have more trust that the front end will work for me. Ryan Blaney's been a threat today, one of these non-playoff drivers who could win, leading 32 laps early on. He said, by myself, I'm too loose, but when I'm in traffic, I'm way too tight. They made an air pressure adjustment. They took 4 tires as well, Rick.
And we'll show you the race off of pit road. Again, differing strategies. Logano, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, 2-tire strategy, 4 for everyone else. First 2 stages complete in the Monster Energy Cup Series race from Texas Motor Speedway. Let's go to the Peacock Pit Box. Time now for today's Toyota Social Spotlight with Rutledge Wood.
You know, Rick, it was a great question that Toyota asked today. What is your favorite short track? And let's take a look at some of the responses we got. Now, first up, this is a great one. Wall Stadium Speedway from Hannah up there in Jersey, of course. Let's go Martin Truex Jr. Love that one. Formula Drift races up there, too. Let's check out the next one. This is from Joshua. He said Stafford Speedway. Tons of great drivers have raced there over the years, including Ryan Preece. Always a classic. And next up, we've got Marvin. Oh, Marvin Blue, we love you, buddy. Toledo Speedway. Me and my father go to this short track once a year in May to go see ARCA Racing Series. We saw Jeff Burton's son, Harrison Burton, win at this track in 2017. It's the best track ever. Thank you, everybody, for all your responses. Guys, this is exciting. So much on the line here, trying to get that ticket to punch your way to Miami.
And we're going to get a few quick updates. Kelly.
Okay, Rick, remember that issue with the 18 car and Kyle Busch? He said he was bottoming out, worried he might have another loose wheel. Well, that must have resolved itself because they did not bring him down to pit road. And crew chief Adam Stevens told Kyle, save when you can. We'll have to run it all the way to the switch to do their fuel switch. Pit again around lap 205. He is running 21st right now, but back on the lead lap, Dave.
Kelly, remember in Countdown to Green, Kurt Busch told us he thought today would be a day of survival. Well, he's had to kind of change his thinking back again because it's definitely about speed today. A smoother race today than we've seen all weekend, Rick.
Thank you, Dave. And Kelly, of course, he's back on the lead lap because he took the wave around. So he, as well as the 5 other drivers, so 6 drivers took the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Green flag back in the air. 2 Penske drivers making up row 1. Logano and Keselowski. Logano chose the outside line for the restart, and he's gonna make it stick at least through 1 and 2. Can he get the lead, though, going into 3?
That's the best anybody's done all day.
But he chose that outside line. So Logano made that decision to run that high line, but it didn't give him the advantage, and Keselowski gets by him.
That's the best anybody's been able to run up there through 1 and 2, though.
Yeah, it's such a tough thing. If you choose the inside line, you risk being loose on the bottom and losing the position that way. But if you can't make it work on the top, you give up the position like what just happened here. If you're side by side going down the back straightaway on the outside, man, it takes a lot of commitment to make that outside work in 3 and 4.
And almost every mile and a half is different than that, isn't it? That's why this track's so unique. Most mile and a half.
He lost the front. He lost the nose right through there, Jeff.
Yeah, most mile and a half, it's easy. You just pick the top. That's just the end of it. There he is. See Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch underneath him. That losing the front end, lost that momentum. Kurt Busch underneath him.
When they repaved this racetrack, they did not fix the bumps. They wanted to keep that character in the racetrack, and there's so many bumps through the middle of turns 3 and 4, and you saw him go through those bumps and lose the nose, and that's when you're going to do it. You're going to do it on this low air pressure after a pit stop when the splitter is most vulnerable to hit the ground.
So from the lead, Logano has fallen all the way back behind Blaney, and Logano drops back to 4th. Now a fight for position between Kurt Busch and Ryan Blaney. That's for 2nd.
Really hard for Kurt Busch not to lose 2 spots here.
Joe Logano up in this battle. What's he going to do? Is he going to help his teammate, trying to push his teammate through? He does.
Bottom is Joey, as he will also try to get by Kurt. And now, Kurt Busch behind him. Quite a ways until Kevin Harvick back there. But Keselowski, Blaney, Logano, Kurt Busch top 4, Harvick running 5th.
All right, Junior, we see two drivers working, have a great shot off the roof of both cars. Kurt Busch at the top.
Yeah, I'm watching off of Kurt Busch's roof, seeing how that 22 car is getting through the corner. Don't see a lot of movement in the back of the car. These Penske guys, 1, 2, 3, these got their cars handling pretty good today.
Different tires for Blaney, though. He took 4 tires on that last pit stop. Keselowski and Logano just 2 tire stops.
And Kurt Busch on 2 tires. Off throttle time in 3 and 4 is starting to increase as we get further into this race.
It's a good battle right here. Eric Almirola trying to get by Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. was right behind Harvick and just lost his car, and that allowed Almirola to move up on him.
A fight for 6th.
Just so hard. We hear all day long the drivers talking about how hard it is to pass. Once you get behind somebody, you're going to have to hope they make a mistake, put them in a position where they can't get to the bottom of the racetrack, fill that hole. That's what Eric Almirola is trying to do right here, trying to turn a little bit earlier. Hoping Martin Truex Jr. will make a mistake.
I think Eric Almirola and his team feel like they've got a good enough car to get up there and win this race. They feel like they've had the speed all weekend that their teammate Harvick has shown throughout the day. He just hasn't been able to get that track position. They took 4 tires. He loses the nose a little bit right there off the bottom. It's so hard to get by these guys, make these passes under green flag.
Keselowski has about a 1-second lead over Ryan Blaney running 2nd. Logano is 3rd. Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick the top 5. Shadows getting a little bit longer at Texas Motor Speedway as the front stretch, as well as almost all of turns 1 and 2 now inside the shade. A little more grip maybe with the cooler temperature of the asphalt. Let's get some updates, and we go through the field, brought to you by KFC. We'll start with Kelly.
And Rick, you'll notice that Fords lead this field 1 through 5, and that starts off with Brad Keselowski and that 2 team. They've been happy with their car all weekend. Crew chief Paul Wolfe told me he really felt like if they could get track position through pit stops or strategy that they could hold them off. Well, that's exactly what they've done, taking 2 tires on the last stop. And Brad has said, I feel really, really strong. This is the best we have been. Marty?
Kelly, these Team Penske drivers trying to spoil the playoff party today. Ryan Blaney running up in the 2nd position. He loves these repaves, always good at the very fast racetracks. In fact, he qualified on the pole at over 200 miles an hour and told me it's like holding your breath for 26 seconds right now, running in 2nd, Dave.
And Penske driver number 3, Joey Logano, running in 3rd. This driver in the unique situation after winning last week of being able to sort of play around. Even though the tracks aren't the same, this one and Miami Homestead, they can learn things here that they can take to the championship round of 4. In 4th place, a former champion, Kurt Busch, who on that last stop took 2 right side tires only. And you see him behind Harvick now. He's gotten by Kevin Harvick. Harvick tried to find his way through traffic. He hasn't been back there much yet today. And there's Kurt Busch right there, the former champion who took 2 right side tires on that last stop, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. stalking Kurt Busch, and right now Truex, he's led more laps in the last 7 Texas races than anyone, but he's yet to get that Texas win. He told me this is one place I definitely want to check off. Truex has been a little frustrated with traffic so far. That traffic in front of him is a 41, Kelly.
Almirola now running 7th. When I talked to his crew chief, Johnny Klossmeyer, and asked him what has impressed him most about working with Eric, he said it's really the amount of effort he puts into his racecraft. He watches races several times a week. He'll oftentimes change the line that he runs the next time they go to that track based on what he's learned. He said they have improved throughout this entire season, and now they are 2 races away from a shot at going to the championship for Dave.
Alex Bowman is 8th now, and now not in the playoffs anymore. Greg Ives told me this morning, a lot of building toward next year. A 2-tire stop on that last stop gave him good track position, Marty.
Eric Jones kept it in the top 10 all day long, Dave. He said, you know, Texas is one of my top 3 racetracks, and I won my first Xfinity Series race just comfortable at this racetrack, although I do like the older Texas a little bit more. Struggling with a car that's a little bit too free this run, Kelly.
How about Austin Dillon running in the top 10? Crew chief Justin Alexander told me they just felt all right in practice, but they were also going to work some strategy to get track position. That's what they did. They stretched out a long fuel run, then came in and took 2 tires. He felt like if they could get him up front, they could keep him up front. They're doing a nice job of it now. Behind him is the 42 of Kyle Larson, another team that had a disappointing qualifying session, but Chad Johnston, crew chief on that team, told me they felt much better about their car in race room. In fact, he told me that their mile-and-a-half program is the best it's been. They're still looking for their first win of the season. He said, if we don't get it here at Texas, we still feel good about Phoenix, but we feel great about our chances in Miami.
Kelly, we talked about Chase Elliott's team and how much they struggled in practice yesterday when they got into race trim. It's not been much better in the race today. Listen to the radio during that last run.
Yeah, it's like as the rubber continues to lay down on the long run, my minimum speed just keeps coming down. It just has to continue to drop, you know, to get pointed the right way.
It is a much warmer day at the Texas Motor Speedway today, so the racetrack taking more rubber. But Rick mentioned a moment ago, Kelly, those shadows creeping in over the racetrack. They're hoping on the 9 team that helps.
Visibility could be an issue. Kyle Busch now back on the lead lap running 17, but this has not been the race that they were looking for. One of the things that crew chief Adam Stevens has emphasized with me was their desire to be the top running points player. So they had the most points going into this race. They were 46 points above that cut line. That has been now cut in half, now 25 points above the cut line, and they are running 4th on the playoff grid right now, Marty.
Kelly, one more race in the round of 8 at Phoenix next week, and Clint Boyer likely going there. One of his better racetracks on the bottom. Right now, 79 points below the cut line, but more importantly, 3 laps down here at Texas in 29th. Remember, started on the outside pole today. Contact on lap 1. Right rear tire went down. They have not recovered from that yet, Rick.
When we were looking at Kyle Busch, he was behind Bubba Wallace. 1 and 2 driving up the racetrack. These 2 guys have been going at it a little bit. Watch here. Tries to drive down in the corner, gets in the back of Bubba, but misses the corner. Doesn't upset Bubba's car, I guess, as much as he wanted to. Trying it again. Driving down into turn 1, trying to aerodynamically get to the back of that 43 and lose the back of the 43, but the 43 is hooked up, Jeff. That's a surprise to me.
Yeah, well, remember, Kyle Busch is on older tires. He stayed out here. He last pitted on lap 140, stayed out, took the wave around and tried to get back in the lead lap. So, you know, he's out there in a little bit older tires, and I'm not real sure, Steve, how long it's going to be before he'll have to pit on the green.
Yeah, I have him maybe 3 or 4 or 5 laps away. You know, we don't completely know because we kind of gave you an approximate fuel window. Well, you heard the report earlier. They were going to run this thing all the way to the switch, which means they're going to run it all the way to maximum fuel capacity. This would be an idea to see how far the 18 will go, but this battle between Kyle Busch and Darrell Wallace Jr. continues.
Yeah, I'm so surprised when he drove down in the back of the corner in the back of the 43, it didn't get that 43 car loose. He's trying to get him up off the bottom of the racetrack so he can make a pass and get around him and go on. You see how much faster he is to drive in there, catch the 43, but he just can't pass him. It's so hard to pass him. A guy can be 2-3 tenths slower, and he can hold you up.
That's why the drivers get so frustrated. That's why I think if we see some cautions at the end of this race, they're going to be crazy restarts because we've seen right here, Kyle Busch running so well today. Caught Bubba Wallace, can't get by him. That means track position matters, so you're going to have to get exceptionally aggressive on restarts. Every spot you get is it's going to be huge. It might take you 20 laps to pass a guy. You can get him in turn 1 on a restart. That'll be a big deal of who can win this race.
We see so much emotion out of the 18 of Kyle Busch when he's not able to win and feels that he has a winning car. Well, this is a situation now where the vibration brought him to pit road and put him a lap down. He used the wave around to get by and get back on the lead lap. The problem is he'll have to come to pit road in the next couple laps unless a caution comes out under green flag conditions. Martin Truex Jr. battle for 5th on the right side of the screen. Kurt Busch in front of him. Keselowski and Blaney, non-playoff drivers out front at Texas.
Speedway, Kyle Busch in that 18 car made his pit stop. Remember, he did not come to pit road at the end of stage 2. Kyle was feeling a little bit frustrated with the traffic ahead of him, said his balance was way off and the right side was plowing, but he thought that was because he was mired in traffic. They did make a chassis adjustment to the left side of the 18 car, an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel.
Well, and the concern for the 18 of Kyle Busch is, you know, it's going to take 15 or 20 laps till everybody comes to pit road, but right now, the 18 cannot have a yellow. He is 2 laps down to the leader, Brad Keselowski. That would be just devastating for the 18's chances, Jeff.
Yeah, 2 laps down is so difficult for sure. They put them in the position that they just did, you know, the same thing they just were. They had to stay out, take the wave around. If they don't get that, if it doesn't work out for them, the caution comes out, they'll be in that same position. And then, once again, if the caution doesn't come out after that, they're pitting and hoping they don't get caught. So it's just a tough spot. When you get that lap down, you have to gamble, take the wave around, and just hope the cautions fall the way they fall. Favors you.
One car that's fallen is the 41 of Kurt Busch. He was 25 points out of the top 4 to go to Homestead coming into this race. And after stage 1, he had cut that to minus 16 points. But you see here him giving up another spot to Eric Jones. Now he's minus 20, minus 21. Losing spots in his final stage. He doesn't want to see that happen. He wants to come out of here with at least a top 3 finish and ahead of Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, Junior, you have to wonder. You can see how shaded the racetrack is. Look at all the shade. Track's cooling way down. You have to wonder whose cars are going to be better when the track does get colder. See how much brighter it is down the back straightaway, but you'll see as we follow Kurt Busch down into turn 3, complete shade again. So the majority of this racetrack is now shaded. Cars are going to start changing. Dave.
Remember, guys, just 2 right side tires on that last stop. Kurt has been very silent on the radio since then.
Yeah, I don't think they hope they didn't anticipate it going this long, but it's hurting these guys, losing all his track position. He actually ran in the top 5 last in April at this racetrack, led some in stage 2, had a great run. He needs to have a great run today to be able to stay in this playoff battle. He was chipping away at it in the first stage, but losing ground now.
Kevin Harvick running 3rd.
He's been battling since they lost some track position. Some guys did 2 tires, got in front of him. He just got by Logano a few laps ago, and over the last couple laps, he's been about 0.2 a lap faster than Keselowski, the leader, and Blaney running in 2nd. So it took a long time to claw himself back up where he has clean air. Now not behind Logano anymore, trying to run the leaders down.
He's doing a nice job, Jeff, because he's got the lead from 1st to 3rd, which is where Harvick's running under 2 seconds. With upcoming green flag pit stops, that's so important. Get yourself close enough that if somebody does stumble, you can capitalize, Dave.
You guys remember earlier I told you the value of winning part 1 when I talked to Rodney Childers. The value of winning part 2, they could get there on points, yes, but the value of winning for them is they need to win in Miami. Remember, Miami is a winner-take-all day. So he said to me, if you can't prove that you can win at Las Vegas or, you know, here at Texas or next week at Phoenix, then you don't know that you can win in Miami. So that's one reason why they really, and part 2 of why they want to win here today, Marty.
Dave, in front of the 4 is the 12 of Ryan Blaney, and some growing concern about the engine temperature in the 12 car right now. They are, oddly enough, 12 degrees over the optimum temperature. Now, see, they have added tape onto the grill of the 12 car a couple of times today. Now, the tape is magic, right? It adds downforce, all the things you want in a race car, but there's a other side to it, right? It increases the temperature of the engine, and that's where Ryan Blaney is right now. Now, we're closing in on pit stops. It should be fine. Blaney says starting to sound funny as well, but, you know, that's a wonderful thing. Tape on the grill really helps you, but it also hurts the engine, Steve.
Well, the temperatures don't bother me as much as the sounding funny. You just heard Jeff Burton mention it. The shade was coming, the sun is setting, the temperatures are going down. Every degree or 2 of ambient temperature does cool the engine as well. You saw that bright orange tape. That's what was added. We'll have to see on the pit stop whether they choose to remove a piece or not, but it's free grip if the engine lasts, Jeff.
Steve, I was walking around on pit road earlier today, and I noticed something really interesting on this car. They are prepared to be able to pull tape off. These are actually handles that are built into the tape where the guy can go over the pit wall, easily grab one of those handles, and pull that tape off. That's the first time I've ever seen that. That was the only cars that had it. The Penske cars had it. Most cars just had it marked, but not with actual handles built into the tape.
Yeah, and you see those orange pieces on the grill. Those are the pieces they've added throughout the race to try to bring that temperature up, because the car that adds downforce, and they know they got a little room to be able to run a little hotter, and now they're over that.
You want to talk about technology? No longer is it a screen. It's a piece of metal with some holes punched in it. Rick, they can measure the exact amount of air that goes in to cool the car.
17 cars on the lead lap. That doesn't include Kyle Busch or Clint Bowyer, 2 championship contenders. As we head to break here at Texas Motor Speedway, Coca-Cola brings us down to the southern border on this week's edition of Race Day Fuel. Caution just came out. The 19 of Daniel Suarez pounded the wall. Take a look at what happened.
Just drove into turn 1. You couldn't keep the car on the bottom. I always makes you wonder if he had a tire going down, how slow he got. He drives into 1.
That's definitely a right front
tire. Look at his hands. His hands never move to the right or anything. Just always to the left. Right front down for sure.
Stop the sensor, clear low.
See all the damage on the right side. They came to pit road, put 2 right side tires on, sent him back out onto the track. Let's listen in to Eric Almirola's communications.
I'm telling you, man, you give me track position, we'll go like hell.
Yeah, I think that's what we, I think that's
Yeah.
what we think too. He's had that speed all weekend in practice, and those guys feel like that if they can get up front, they can win this race. And I agree with him. They just haven't done anything on pit road to give him that track position.
The problem right now is can you do 2 tires now? You know what I mean? Because you still have 108 laps left to go. Can you do tires now and then do 2 again later? Because if you do 2 now and got to do 4 later, that could hurt you when you really need the track position late in the race.
We mentioned the car that didn't want to see all of the 18 of Kyle Busch was trapped 2 down. He'll take the wave around, but this is going to make it even more difficult. I think you need too much fuel for 2 tires, Jeff. I think this is the last time you're going to see 4 tires, but we'll have to see what all the crew chiefs decide, Kelly.
And Eric Almirola will come to pit road from the 6th position. He said the 10 car was a little bit snug in the front, and he said he was good in clean air, but when he got in traffic, his tires were angry. He said, give me track position. You heard it, but they're still going to go with 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Middle of the screen, Kevin Harvick running in 3rd will come in for an adjustment. Air pressure doesn't take off well, too tight on the first laps, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. pits from 4th. He said, man, I wanted that to go green. They feel like they're so much better on the longer run. You saw a little bit longer there on the left rear for that team, the right rear rather, for that team. They're going to lose some spots here on pit road with a 78.
Logano's pit crew continuing to shine in the playoffs, gaining 3 spots. Jimmy Johnson, full strategy there, gains 11 spots. You're watching the Monster Energy Cup Series, AAA Texas 500. 105 laps remaining. Monster Energy Cup Series race from Texas. This telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. Rutledge.
Rick, you know, everything's bigger in Texas, including the party. Over here in turn 2, we have made some great new friends. A lot of these friends are from Lubbock, a couple from Dallas. Now, the wildest thing is the view we've got up here. You can see is incredible. The backstretch is right here. We got a good view of Big Hoss, which is using our feed for a lot of stuff. Now, the wildest part is something that you guys hinted on. Over on this side of the trailer, you can see with my man, it's shorts and T-shirts weather. Over here on this side of the trailer, it's time for a jacket. The temperature difference down here with the sun and the shade is dramatic. So, Steve, how do you plan for that as a crew chief? You're hoping some turns are going to cool off, others are still hot as could be. How do you play this guessing game right now?
Well, we've seen this race continually cool, be later in the day. It's close to time change, so you should have a lot of notes. I would imagine, Jeff, as the track cools, though, you should gain a little more front grip. I would hope your car would turn a little better.
Hey, I want to tell you something. This 22 pit crew, these guys, they have been on fire. They pitted in 4th, came out with the lead. They picked up 7 spots the last two stops, 8 spots last week. Came out with the lead last week to win that race at Martinsville. You talking about winning championships? You get this pit crew at Miami, give Joey Logano the lead, he can win the championship because of this pit crew.
He chose the outside again. The last time he chose the outside, he lost the lead. Let's see if Ryan Blaney can challenge him on the inside this restart. Has a great lead as he went through 1 and 2, and he has the lead. And now Kevin Harvick is going with him. He gets by Ryan Blaney. Harvick up to second.
That's the last thing Logano wanted to see is that 4 car in his mirror. I think that's one of the best cars. All these guys up the racetrack a little bit down in turns 3 and 4, but
oh, it's tight right there for those
very
3.
Close. The 41 of Kurt Busch all over the back bumper of Blaney.
And Keselowski all
Kevin
over
Harvick
41.
thinks he has a loose wheel. The 4 car running in second believes he has a loose wheel, guys.
Oh, no.
Wow. Kevin Harvick on a great restart was able to run second, but feeling something inside that car.
Can't have mistakes. The 48, we saw him come off pit road with 2 tires, Rick. Reason you don't see him in your frame now, he had guys over pit wall too early, had a penalty. He's now at the back of the field.
Remember that 78 car, Martin Truex, he thought he had a loose wheel earlier in the race. Team said we're good. He trusted them, stayed out, ended up not having a loose wheel.
And Harvick staying in the gas. Couple car lengths behind the 22 of Logano.
So, Dale, what's the chances we will ever be able to see the loose wheel, maybe in the steering wheel or anything like that? Would it ever get that severe, or would Kevin Harvick have to pit well before that?
yeah, I don't think you would see it visually in the steering wheel, but looking more at his lap times and
Just let us know. There's been a lot of guys with vibrations after restarts like this.
there you go. See, we've talked about it. I've talked to other drivers during the race weekend, and they said that this tire does shake a little bit. When they were testing here with this tire, they felt this tire shake a little bit. So sometimes you just have to wait on your crew chief to check the sensors and the things that they can test down in the pits to understand whether the tire changers got those lugs tight. When they give you the thumbs up, you just have to trust it. Listen lifting a little bit.
Junior, the problem is there's been so many times that pit crews have said, hey, we got them all tight. And they didn't.
Yeah.
So that's what's so hard for the driver. Yeah, it's ultimately your decision, but, you know, the crew chief, if the pit crew knew they were loose, they would have never let him start. They would have never let him on this restart. They would have brought him down pit road. That's why it's so hard for a driver. It's not that they're lying to you. They're telling you the best information they have.
And basically, you just go by the vibration. If it's shaking moderately, you trust that it's not getting ready to come off. You'll be able to tell when it's starting to shake bad enough that wheel is nearly coming off.
Risk versus reward. He's currently plus 35. Can he risk having a failure and a DNF? I mean, a win right in front of this 22 is a guaranteed spot in Miami. I mean, it's right in front of him, but can he continue to risk it?
Steve, he's listening to his crew chief, though. His crew chief said, hey, other drivers have said there's a vibration right after pit stops with these tires. Marty.
Same song, second verse for Martin Truex Jr. He thinks he has a loose wheel as well. Remember on that stop we talked about how long it took to change the right rear. They hit those right rear lugs probably 20 times. There's only 5 of those lug nuts, by the way, so he thinks he has a loose wheel as well. Could be that right rear. They've told him, ride it out. Let's update us in a couple of laps.
So remember here in the spring, Kevin Harvick dominating, had to pit. Why did he have to pit? Had a vibration. That prevented him from winning the race. So here we are again. 97 to go. Tough decision for Kevin Harvick.
Well, he's up the racetrack and slow off turn 2, dramatically slow compared to the leader and compared to the 12. You have to ask yourself, was it just a handling issue, or did he feel something? It's very rare for Kevin Harvick to miss a groove like that, but it caught our attention over here.
Yeah, there's been a couple times I've seen him chase the car up and have to lift off of turn 4 through the bumps through that corner. Keep an eye on him to see how he handles this corner down here in turn 1 and 2.
And that just adds to your senses, right, Junior, that something could be wrong. You know, when your car all of a sudden doesn't handle as well as it did earlier, and you have a vibration, then in the driver's head, it's like, I got a problem. Something's wrong. Am I going to have to pit?
And the 22 are vibrating also right now.
That's the crew chief right there telling him more information. Hey, these other guys are talking about vibrations, hoping to convince this driver that trust in the car, that the tires are tight, that it's just a tire issue that could happen from set to set.
I'm nervous up here. I know he's nervous inside. He and Martin Truex Jr., I mean, it's just nerve-wracking.
Well, don't forget, going into turn number 1, they're going over 200 miles an hour, right at it. 200 miles an hour with a loose wheel. I mean, that's got to be nerve-wracking for these guys.
I think at the speed he's running, I mean, he's competitive. He's in second place. He's not giving up positions. I think that he feels confident the wheel's good.
Well, 94 to go. We're listening to Rodney Choate giving him great information about everyone feeling vibrations. The other bit of information he may give him and say, listen, we're 34 away from our last pit window, so I may want to run longer, but he's really fast. Gained 3/10 on the leader right there. I know, listen, if you could just give me 34 laps, everyone's going to have to pit anyway. I'll short pit you. Give you a little bit of confidence, Dale, that I'm on your side. I just need a few, 30 more laps to get to that window.
Absolutely. He just seems to be listening to his crew chief and hearing that information and saying, all right, I'm not going to worry about this vibration anymore. And look at him. Fastest over the last couple of laps, closing in on Joey Logano, trying to put the pressure on him.
And Jeff, you mentioned the fact that this isn't the first time that Harvick has set in this situation. It happened in April earlier, as we see now. He's closing the gap on the 22. He's got to feel more comfortable.
Yeah, 2 laps ago, he was actually 3/10 of a lap quicker than Joey Logano was. That lap, he was about 1/10.5 quicker. As he gets closer, it's going to be hard to maintain that speed because he's now getting the air taken off of his car, but now he's getting some confidence. Now he's like, okay, I got a vibration, but I'm running the leader down. There's no way I've got something broken. So now I think he's fully committed, going to run this thing out.
Yeah, as it gets tougher, as he gets closer to the back of that 22 car, the 22 car is also catching lap traffic. That's going to create issues for him. Marty.
And it's getting worse for Martin Truex Jr. He just asked Cole Pearn how far out of our window, meaning to make it to the end, like Steve was talking about a moment ago, for when he needed to pit. He said, we're pretty far out, like 30 laps. He came back on the radio 1 lap later, said it's getting really bad. The pit crew has now scrambled. They're at the ready if Truex needs to come to pit road, but he thinks that right rear is getting worse.
And he's only plus 24 points. We're talking the big 3. Harvick, we've got, the 18, the 78. These 3 were supposed to be automatic into Miami, and here they are, all with vibrations and potential issues. That 78 plus 24 feels like a lot, but if he pits, Marty, it could be 10 or 15 points.
And you see Clint Boyer coming down pit road. We'll check to see if that's a loose wheel as well for that race team. Again, down 3 laps. It's been a struggle of this day for this 14 team. Not the day that they wanted. They're pitting here under green at Texas. They'll go more laps down.
Well, Marty, this is a scheduled stop, I think, for fuel for the 14. I can understand it's been hard to follow. They've been, staying out, trying to gamble, trying to be lucky. Just weren't lucky enough to get the yellows, trying to do anything to get those laps back.
And the gap is closed. Now Harvick within a car length of the 22 of Logano for the race lead.
Yeah, they passed that lap car right there and didn't bother Logano too much. He's got clear sailing for at least another lap before he catches another lap car, and that's really going to be what presents the opportunity for Harvick to get by. I don't know that Harvick can drive up to the 22 and pass him. It's going to be something that causes Joey to have to lift for a lap car.
And Logano has every reason in the world to keep the 4 car behind him. You want to make the 4 car earn their way into Miami by having to point themselves in. Maybe something could happen in Phoenix to keep the 4 car from advancing. That's a car you do not want to have to compete against for a championship in a couple weeks.
Closing in behind these guys is Ryan Blaney. As the 4 and the 22 are battling. 78 on pit road here.
Junior, he just couldn't do it any longer. He said it's getting so bad on the straightaways, I can barely hang on to the wheel. The crew kind of scrambling here to make sure they have the right set of tires that Cole Pearn wants on the wall. With 87 to go, they will not be able to make it all the way. When he hit pit road, they were plus 24 above the cut line in 7th position. Cole Pearn saying, let's do 4 Goodyear tires here. They've had a terrific car all day long. Worked their way from the back into the top 5, but pitting on the green for a loose wheel for one of the big 3, Martin Truex Jr.
I am so amazed at the consistency of this 22. So patient. He has not missed the bottom of the racetrack no matter what Kevin Harvick does. Marty gave us a great report on that 78 that he won't be able to make it on one more stop as Kevin Harvick closes in.
I thought that was it right there. I thought Logano was going to close in on that 7 car and have to lift, not be able to get off the corner well enough, but he did a good job there. Logano up the track just a little bit. He's a little loose.
He hit the apron a little bit. Got his left side tires on the apron. That upset the car.
We've
able to maintain control, though.
Yeah, we've seen him do that a couple times down in turn 2. Harvick knew it, too. Harvick was trying so hard to get the throttle down to be able to get a run. Marty.
and pouring salt in the wound for Martin Truex Jr. He gets a penalty, guys, driving through too many boxes on entry. There you see him serving the penalty. Cole Pearn said, I knew you did it. I saw you do it. I just didn't know if NASCAR was going to call it. There's the penalty. He's going to be in a further hole now.
Logano again catching a lap car off of turn 2. A bad spot to be catching a car. Doesn't present an opportunity for the 4, though, of Harvick. And Logano's doing a good job getting through these guys because he's not really catching them at great spaces. Coming off the corner, you do not want to be driving up under a lap car. See, out in front of Joey, though, not a lot of lap traffic. So for now, Joey just needs to put together laps, but he's having a problem right here.
Good run by Harvick.
Joey is not getting through the middle of 1 and 2. Harvick knows it. He sees it next time through. Harvick knows he wants to capitalize there.
Harvick's just trying. His goal right now is to maintain, gain a little bit off turn 4 so he can run into turn 1 with his front bumper on Logano's rear bumper. We've seen Logano moving around. The back of the car not stable in the center of 1 and 2. That's where the opening is for Harvick.
Well, but this battle heats up to 2. Brad Keselowski is now making his way to pit road. He also has a loose wheel. He tried to ride it out. Finally said, I just can't do it any longer. I got to come to pit road.
Saw how dangerous it was. The tire carrier falls down. You're not going to miss a thing as we go NASCAR nonstop.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want a car with driver assist technology, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're gonna want a Ford.
There's so much melty cheese in this double-stacked cheeseburger.
2 layers of melty cheese.
Take it easy.
I'm having a meltdown.
I know. Hey, let's just snap out of it, okay? Just try to...
Sorry, what is this supposed to do?
They'll be gone in a snap. Try the new quarter-pound double-stacked cheeseburger plus tots for only $2.99.
Wow. Bank of America gives Rachel the power to stay on top of her money, so she's ready to make moves.
Think you can get this place? Really hope so.
Erica, what's my credit score?
Your FICO score is 705.
That's good, right? Let me see. I think so.
Just talk, type, or tap to find better money habits, know-how, and more with Erica, your virtual financial assistant, only from Bank of America.
Does this make you want a Reese's? Oh, how about this? Okay, we'll stop. Just kidding. We're not gonna stop. Not sorry. Reese's.
What would make Sonic's Golden Soft Pretzel Twist a great meal?
What?
A cinnamon sugar pretzel twist afterwards for dessert?
Tell me it has cream cheese frosting.
Consider yourself told.
Oh, thank you.
For only $1.99, try an original or sweet pretzel twist or both.
America loves great rivalries.
There goes the neighborhood.
But when it comes to bitterness, nothing comes close to the Manchester Derby. All rise for Premier League mornings. Manchester City, Manchester United on NBCSN.
This isn't just college football.
Here come the Irish to the end zone. Touchdown Notre Dame.
This is Florida State, Notre Dame.
Touchdown Irish.
In prime time on NBC.
New leader in Texas. You saw it in NASCAR nonstop. Kevin Harvick was able to make the pass on Joey Logano, and Logano has continued to fall. He went down to Ryan Blaney, the third now, but Harvick, this is how he made the pass.
Yeah, we talked about that was the weak spot right there. Logano's car just not able to stay in the racetrack. Having to chase it, that's a lot of work, isn't it, Junior?
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple laps later, he lost second position to his teammate Ryan Blaney in the same issue, getting down into turn 1 and 2 and losing the back of the car. Struggling down there, Hamlin on that 22, falling off here on the long run.
Yeah, Logano doing everything right. You know, he's not overdriving the entry or anything like that. He just cannot maintain the pace in the center of the corner. Dave.
Kevin just radioed his crew. I've loosened way up on the 4 car, but that's not as bad as Joey Logano, whose car was very, very loose and was way down on his track bar. And as you could tell, he didn't put up too much of a fight when Blaney passed him. So a little trouble at the front here, but they're still faster than everybody else. All right, no word on the vibration, by the way, from Harvick at all.
Thanks, Dave. We want to look at today's Ram trucks proven to last.
Yeah, track position, Rick. Can a crew chief come up with something creative? Will we see the yellows? Can I somehow help my driver get up front?
I say it every week. Minimize mistakes, especially on pit road. Loose wheels, loose tires, uncontrolled tires, you got to minimize those.
And pit strategy, remember, we've seen some guys take 2 tires. That's worked out for them. 2 versus 4, and can Logano's team get him back out front on pit road?
They have been very impressive. Want to get a few more updates? We go back to pit road. And Marty.
Man, Rick, it's been a solid day for some of these non-playoff drivers, including Eric Jones, who's really been in the top 10 for much of the day. Talking to him before the race, he said the communication between Chris Gale and I may be better than it's ever been, and that's really helped us in practice to translate it to the race. An example today, very loose car earlier, but much better right now. Car's tighter for him and running very nicely, Dave.
Alex Bowman running in 9th position. When I talked to Greg Ives, his crew chief, this morning, he said, you know what, I think we have about an 8th to 12th place car today. So Alex has been doing his job. The crew has been doing well. Right now he runs 9th, Kelly.
Remember, Austin Dillon started the season by winning the Daytona 500, which got them a spot in the playoffs, and even though they've been eliminated, still trying to close out on a high note. Crew chief Justin Alexander told me they feel really good about the progress they've made on their 1.5 mile tracks. In fact, he's had back-to-back 11th place finishes on these intermediate tracks, running 10th right now, Dave.
As for Paul Menard in the 21 car, when I talked to Greg Irwin this morning, he said, back in April, we got wrecked on lap 2. We had absolutely nothing to go off of when we came to the track this weekend. So far, so good. Nice, strong run for them today, running in 11th. And William Byron, remember, he had trouble earlier. Got sideways when Jimmy Johnson was having trouble on the track as well. Williams' team has recovered. And the 24 car, starting at the back today, even without car chief Todd Devnich, has made their way forward and runs in 12th.
So much going on in this race and so much shuffling because of the pit road penalties, the loose wheels, all those things. Right now, Kyle Busch is in the spot he needs to be in. He's the first car a lap down. He is praying for a caution. Doesn't want to be in it, but if he could get a caution, he would be in position to get his lap back. He's wanting it bad.
Only 14 cars on the lead lap, and right now running 14th, Jimmy Johnson. Another one looking for a win in 2018 to keep the win streak alive. Eric Almirola is able to get by the 41. So teammates fighting for position, and Almirola goes by Kurt Busch. That is for the 4th position.
They talk about Jimmy Johnson being the last car on the lead lap. He's about a half a straightaway in front of the leader, Kevin Harvick. So Kyle Busch has a little bit of time here if he's lucky enough to get a caution to get that lucky dog.
I love how you qualified it, Jeff. Every time I thought to myself, man, I'd do anything for a yellow. My car was the yellow. I was like, I didn't mean that.
Yeah. I think we've all been there. Hey, we want a caution. Hey, yeah, we're in it.
And Jeff, you mentioned earlier about pit strategy maybe coming into play and how good Logano has been as far as that pit crew, the over-the-wall pit crew. Dave, they've been spectacular the past 2 races.
That's for sure, Rick. They made a change last week, and then this week, just a reminder that this group, 4 of the 5 who go over the wall for Joey Logano have been with him for a long time. They were with him in the championship runs of 2014 and 2016. And as we get down to possibly the last pit stop, possibly under green flag conditions, that's that solidarity, that base that Joey has of a team that understands him and understands how to get it done could be critical. Right now, Joey's over 4 seconds behind. I don't know if they can pick him up that far, but they've got a good crew here that can make it happen.
Well, and Dave mentioned, not only are they fast, but that experience together. Rick, you mentioned it. Jeff, you mentioned it earlier about how these plays now have a lot of timing to them. You roll a tire before somebody leaves. It's not as simple as the pit crews have gone from 7 crew members to 6, now down to 5. Everybody's job is a little bit more difficult, and timing is more important. And that history of teamwork together definitely comes into play because these pit stops are the biggest they'll do all year.
I also think, Steve, I know what Joey Logano did last week was controversial, and some people didn't like that he moved Martin Truex out of the way to win Martinsville. But you know who loved it? was those guys that work on that race car. And they know that guy right there is going to do anything he can to win them a championship. And when you work for a guy like that, it motivates you, man. You want to do well for that guy. I think that matters a tremendous amount, too. Everybody wants the same thing and is willing to give everything to get it.
I know in football, quarterbacks are always willing to buy their linemen maybe a few little gifts, presents, something saying, hey, thank you for taking care of me. What about a driver? Do you guys ever you take care of those pit crew members? I mean, they stand behind you if you might have a tussle or something.
And you know me well enough to know. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to answer right now.
Big races,
yes. Okay, yes.
Big races. We were lucky enough to win the $1 million races several times. We did watches, those kind of things. It's teamwork, man.
Yeah. Yes, and as you mentioned, those guys grow like a family and want to appreciate everyone who goes over the wall and what everyone does every week to make these cars go around the track as fast as they do and be as competitive. Well, Kyle Busch still one lap down, and Jimmie Johnson, it's getting a little bit closer. That's if Jimmie Johnson goes a lap down, that means Kyle Busch will be out of the free pass situation, which he needs dearly to get back on the lead lap if he wants to contest for this race win, which he was one of the best cars. If it wouldn't have been for speeding on pit road and a vibration that brought him back onto pit road, at one point in time, Kyle Busch was 2 laps down, but through fighting traffic as well as getting back on the lead lap through the wave around, but he's just been off cycle and has not been able to get that break that he needs. But again, only 14 cars on the lead lap, and it's getting closer and closer. About 2 seconds is the gap between Harvick and Jimmie Johnson.
Well, I think what's going to happen to Kyle Busch in this 18 car is he's going to run out of laps. I mean, he's needing fuel. He's only probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 laps away from coming and pitting again to get fuel. So you're going to have to really get a lucky break here.
Strategy has been crazy for so many teams today. Right now, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney giving chase, but he is 3 seconds behind Kevin Harvick, the dominant car today.
Hey! Chuck Norris? Can you sign my Tacoma?
I'll be glad to.
From the fist of a legend rises a new action star. A hero who's there to save the day and the night. So fearless, so rugged, he's tough as Chuck.
You replaced me with a truck?
Toyota, let's go places.
Some restaurants say you should drink your meals. Well, America deserves better. At Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, choose from a variety of full-flavored all-star meals starting at $5. Get a real meal. Paid for by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
Golden Corral's Beef Lovers Banquet with our all-new bacon-wrapped sirloin filet, smoked beef brisket, portobello top sirloin, and golden delicious shrimp. The Beef Lovers Banquet. Golden Corral. Your choice. Rules.
Pieces or cups? Pieces or cups? Pieces or cups? Pieces in cups! Man, we're killing it over here, huh? Not sorry. Reese's.
Your microwave doesn't need another frozen meal, and neither do you. Only Hardee's and Carl's Jr. bring the heat with a variety of full-flavored all-star meals starting at $5. Get a real meal, paid for by Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
On February 17th, the stage will be set for racing's greatest day. A day to witness history, to feel the intensity, make lasting memories, and be on the edge of your seat. This is the day you've been waiting for. This is the Daytona 500. The greatest race awaits. Experience the Daytona 500 in person. Guarantee your seats before they sell out at Daytona500.com.
Green flag pit stops underway here. That is the 10 of Eric Almirola. He said that he just needed his car to fire off a little bit. He was on the splitter to start that run. He's been asking for track position, but they're going to give him 4 Goodyear tires here on what could be the final stop. Dave.
Here comes leader Kevin Harvick, about a 4-second lead as he came to pit road. He'll get 4 tires and fuel. This run, he said the car was just a lot tighter as I ran compared to before. It's gotten a lot cooler down here, guys, so it's going to be interesting to watch how these cars need to be adjusted, Marty.
Good observation, Dave. And those cool temperatures also have gotten Ryan Blaney, the same as Kevin Harvick, a little too tight this run. Jeremy Bullins called him to pit road, kind of hoping they could jump the 4 car by maybe 1 lap. We'll see if they can make up some ground. Like you pointed out, Dave, they were 4 seconds behind that 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Again, too tight for Blaney, an air pressure adjustment, and they pulled more tape off the grill, Dave.
41 of Kurt Busch on pit road. Slow in the apex of 1 and 2, just won't turn for the driver, so he'll need 4 tires. Air pressure adjustment perhaps at this point is going to have to work for him. They'll do it, get 4 in fuel, and send Kurt on his way.
Eric Almirola was the first playoff car, the first car running inside the top 10 to pit. He drove all the other leaders to pit, not surprising. Now the 22 of Joey Logano's on pit road. Dave?
Here comes Joey now slowly down pit road. One thing he doesn't want to do is contribute to a problem speeding on pit road. He'll hit his marks nicely here, and the crew will go to work. For Joey, most recently, he said really struggling here. That was about 10 laps ago. The front end has just gone away on the race car. You saw that's why cars were getting around him on the track. Marty.
See Chase Elliott on the bottom of your screen. I'll be honest with you, Dave. They've been outside the top 10 for much of this day. The car slowly getting better, and other guys having trouble. Chase, once again, like they've been in these entire playoffs, opportunistic. They worked their way up into the top 7. A big wedge adjustment there, though, thinking they needed to get a little bit better. The sun going down, track changing, guys.
Yeah, the track's changing with 51 to go. Not just the track changing, but the pace. You know, as you get to the end of these races, Dale, right, you attack the corner a little bit harder. It's time to go. Pay window's open. You got to find a little bit more out of your race car. Yeah, that's gonna work for some guys, but not everybody. When you start to drive the car harder, get in the corner deeper with that extra grip, it loads the front differently, and you could get down into the splitter. We've had that happen many, many times. We get toward the end of this race, the car starts hitting the ground and bottoming out because we're going that much faster. You see how bumpy it is through turn 3 and 4. You're having issues on restarts with low air pressure and getting down that splitter, that's going to be more of a problem. We get a late race restart. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus dealt a tough hand to start the race. Had to start at the back because of a miscommunication with NASCAR. They said he had a penalty. It ended up it shouldn't have been a penalty. They're trying to recover. Currently the leader. And right here, this is almost like the Hail Mary, right? There's nothing to lose. They're staying out trying to catch a yellow with only 12 cars on the lead lap. That would give them a little bit of track position. They got to be getting close on fuel. I would expect to see him on pit road in about the next 5 laps or so. Kevin Harvick currently running second. Yeah, Harvick and Blaney came to pit road together. Left pit road. About a 4-second difference between those two guys. Once Johnson does cycle to pit road, that'll make Harvick the leader. All the leaders were concerned. They all were penalty free. Denny Hamlin not quite as lucky at an uncontrolled tire back at 29. Just this entire year for Denny Hamlin has not been what he's looking for. He's yet to go to victory lane, trying to keep that career streak alive, much like this guy, Jimmy Johnson. Him and Chad Knaus making their 600th start today. Have won so many races, 7 here at this racetrack. They've actually won on this configuration as well. They were the original winners on this configuration, Kelly.
When I talked to Chad Knaus earlier today, he had only just been told that it was their 600th start together. He said, look, to be honest, I didn't think I would have 600 starts in the Cup Series, period. He also told me he doesn't really pay much attention to the numbers and their statistics, but he said, it's been put in front of us and thrown in our faces so much this year that I've kind of had to pay attention, and he had said it really is pretty staggering what we've been able to accomplish as a team.
As you see Jimmy Johnson right behind him, Kevin Harvick. He's about 13 seconds behind. We know Jimmy has to come to pit road. Junior, 4-second lead, arguably the best car. He was the talk of the garage, but 46 laps to go. What's it like for a driver knowing still a long way to go, but you feel so good about your chances? Yeah, I mean, as good as this car's been, not only this afternoon, but here in April. I mean, he's very fast. They had a little bit of an issue with a lug nut that got jammed in the jack on a pit stop. Then that brought him down pit road with a loose wheel or a vibration under green. And that really, I think, cost him winning this race in April.
Kyle Busch was able to get that track position on the 4 car and maintain it to the end of the race. But right now, I think Kevin can only run, 80, 90%. Doesn't even have to try that hard, take his time getting around these lap cars. He knows that even if Blaney can get close to him, that dirty air is going to be tough for Blaney to overcome.
Think about what a win would mean for Kevin Harvick. Not just a seat at the table at Miami, a chance to win a championship would be his second. But doing it now with a guaranteed win, your preparation for Phoenix can actually roll back a little bit. The entire team, the engineers, Rodney Childers, even Kevin himself could start looking ahead to Miami, right? Could start looking at what they're going to need at Miami. You mentioned April and the race when it all went away. A dominant car once again, but watch this. How fluke can this be? They come and a lug nut of all things lands in the jack. I mean, what are your chances?
That's pretty impressive. They didn't have an issue until they went back out on the racetrack and the green flag came out. And he said he had a vibration, had to come to pit road under green. There it is right there, loose wheel. And that cost him too much track position, but he's able to battle it back. He had uncontrolled tire as well during that race. So it seemed like, all kinds of problems for this team, but they were able to battle back. Finished second in the race, but that track position was so important.
And then, too many men as well. You see right here, a tire gets away, falls over to try to get it. I mean, it's his own highlight reel. Yeah. The issues that the 4 has had. And while we don't want to pick on the pit crew, I think the reason we see their mistakes is because the 4 is so fast. It's highlighted week in and week out. But you have mentioned it, with 4 SHR cars in this round, they haven't been able to make any pit crew changes. They're committed with the guys that they have. I think this would be a huge confidence booster for the pit crew as well if they could somehow lock this down. Callie, the 48 finally has made its way to pit road.
Yeah, and we know they've been trying to work the strategy as best they can today. You see them do it once more. It was just 2 right side tires for the 48.
Now the 4 of Kevin Harvick takes over the lead. Has a 4.5-second lead on Ryan Blaney, who's no longer in the playoffs. Got that big breakthrough win at the Roval to advance. Was unable to advance on the last round. Eric Almirola in third. A ton of points below. He's looking like a must-win. Joey Logano, the winner last week, in 4th. And Eric Jones in 5th.
And behind these guys, you just saw Kevin Harvick got by Martin Truex Jr. Then we saw the pit stop by the 48 car. Now that has put the 78 car, the first car, 1 lap down. So now Martin Truex Jr., he's wanting that caution to come out, much like we saw Kyle Busch earlier.
Even with Truex a lap down in 15th, he's still 18 points above the 41 at the cut line to go to Homestead.
If we can stay out of that 37, we'll be the lucky dog.
Yep, getting that information. That's good information to know. Be patient, don't make any mistakes. The lucky dog if we get a yellow.
And don't cause a caution, right? You can't be involved in the caution.
Yeah, you can't get the lucky dog if you cause a wreck.
In a shocking turn of events, Martin Truex Jr. says that debris on the backstretch. There's the call, trying to get the NASCAR officials to call it.
Hey, the last time we laughed about that, there was. That was a whole axle on the racetrack, so I'm not going to laugh.
But a driver who needs a caution seems to have very good vision. Sees about anything on the racetrack. As we look at today's Toyota driver up late, and sure enough, the caution does come out. This time it's for David Starr in the 97. And there you have it. You heard it too. Happy.
Yeah, he's a happy driver there. Let's take a look and see what happened to David Starr. Turn 2. Oh, he gets down into turn 1 here. Looks like he has an issue. Some kind of a flat, I believe. Maybe his left rear.
It looks a little soft maybe there. It's hard to tell. I mean, he's up a groove trying to let the leaders go, so he's not in the preferred lane.
Yeah. I give him the benefit of the doubt until I think he had.
So now the pressure's falling to pit crews. Now the pressure. And Kevin Harvick's pit crew. Do you think they'll pit?
Well, I was going to say, Jeff, before the pressure gets on the pit crew, I think it's on top of the pit box. What are these crew chiefs going to do? Kevin Harvick has the lead. Can you afford to give up the lead with the best car? We know Adam Stevens, he's trapped a lap down. He's disappointed, but Almirola back there in 3rd. What did he say earlier on the radio? You give me track position, I can win this race.
Well, and also, if they do pit, why would Jimmy Johnson pit? He wouldn't pit. He just was on pit road at 293. So you know he's not going to pit. If you're William Byron, Paul Menard, Austin Dillon, why would you pit if those guys don't. You know, so do the opposite. So that makes it even that much more difficult for this call.
Hey, Steve, also the sticker tires, remember, don't fire off as well as those that have a few laps on them, and they only pitted on lap 281-ish.
Yeah, listen, I think Eric Almirola, I'm surprised we haven't seen anybody come. Brad Keselowski, he says, listen, I'm only here to win. I'm going to come to pit road. There's still 37 laps to go. Will the new tires help the two of Brad Keselowski?
Quite a few stayed out. Harvick, Blaney, Almirola, Logano, Eric Jones, Kurt Busch, all staying on the racetrack.
The demands are greater. The expectations higher. The jobs tougher. The world moves faster. So we made your truck even more capable with legendary Hemi power. No wonder more people are switching to Ram than ever before.
Now get 1,000 Black Friday bonus cash for an average $10,000 in total values on the all-new 2019 Ram 1500.
KFC presents the new 10-piece chicken feast for only $19.99, featuring 2 large mashed potatoes and 4 biscuits, with a whopping 10 pieces of chicken. Get it all for only $19.99 before it's gone. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Golden Corral's Beef Lovers Banquet with our all-new bacon-wrapped sirloin filet, smoked beef brisket, portobello top sirloin, and golden delicious shrimp. The Beef Lovers Banquet. Golden Corral, your choice. Rules.
Take a gander at this KFC Crispy Kernel Sandwich $5 fill-up. This KFC meal comes with wedges, cookie, and a drink. Everything in this collection costs $5. That would be at least $7 at a burger place. All this variety goes for just $5. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
From the South Georgia plains to the North Georgia mountains and everywhere in between. Once a year, the young and the old descend on our NASCAR race weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway, building new traditions and rekindling old ones as a new season springs to life. Racing runs deep into the heart of Georgia for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 weekend, February 22nd through 24th. Experience the thrills for just $44. Visit AtlantaMotorspeedway.com.
When the championship's on the line, the intensity just goes through the roof. At Phoenix, the pressure definitely ramps up. Everyone still has a chance, and that's their last chance.
You know, what are you willing to do to go get it?
The NASCAR playoffs continue next Sunday on NBC.
This is Wednesday Night Hockey. Now settle in for the Sid and Ovi show. And whenever they face off, offense always comes first. It's a Wednesday Night Hockey doubleheader on NBCSN.
Sunday Night Football featuring 2 of the best ever under center, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Packers versus the Patriots from Foxborough. Football Night in America, 7 p.m. Eastern, kickoff at 8:20 p.m. tonight, only on NBC. And Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas is telecast presented by Outback Steakhouse. The Ferris wheel outside of turns 1 and 2. Pretty good vantage point as we have been able to watch Martin Truex Jr. And we, once again, will say the Toyota driver update. He was pretty excited when the caution came out, able to get back on the lead lap. He's earned 14 stage points today, and that was the goal. Get as many points as you can. Being a part of the Big Three, they have been above the cut line.
Yeah, the tough part about this is Kurt Busch now in 6th place. Truex being able to get himself back into the lead lap. Every position that he gains going forward as he moves through the field, that's a position that Kurt loses to him, as you see it right here.
Before the green flag flies, let's check in with Rutledge.
Rick, a really interesting vibe down there at the 78. It's a pretty crazy sort of madhouse around there, as is the same thing around Chase Elliott's. Now, around the pit box of the 22, it's pretty calm. There's not as many people. But when you take a look over here at Kevin Harvick's, which is right next to him, it is the biggest crowd of any pit box down here. And you got to wonder, Kelly, is all the other team members, besides just the over-the-wall crew, are they feeling that pressure of all these eyes on them? Kelly?
I know one team that could be feeling the pressure. That's his teammate, Eric Almirola, in this 10 crew. They need a win to stay alive in this championship hunt. Eric's been begging for track position all race long. He raced his way up to third. They opted not to bring him to pit road. We'll see how this restart plays out for that team, Dave.
A lot of confidence in the 4 team right now. Kevin Harvick running some of the fastest laps as the leader, and also staying out on those tires that have a few laps on them. The fire off on the restart is key, Marty.
Oh, Dave, it's about to get good. They asked Ryan Blaney. Kevin Harvick wants to know if he takes the high line, will you let him in? He said, nope, we're racing right now. They said, well, your teammate Joey Logano's behind you. Do you want to push? He said, I want him on my bumper, pushing hard.
Let's listen into the communication of the 4 team.
Says take the top, get a good run. Not on tires, so the tires are pretty good. Yeah, I need to have the 10 lay off the 12 if we do that. If I can get that done either, but I'll try.
So much strategy that is being talked about, and you only have just a matter of seconds to decide what you're going to do.
Well, you're also making these decisions in a situation they really haven't been in. So these tires are pretty old, right? How do they launch? How is the rear wheel spin? That's what's so important, isn't it, Junior? How you launch, how you leave the start zone, that's going to determine who can beat whom through turn 1.
You see on the left side of the screen, Larson, first car on fresh tires. He has 2 tires in 8th. Brad Keselowski back at 12th. He has 4 fresh. We'll see how this launch goes.
All right, Eric Almirola, you wanted that track position. May not be exactly the track position you wanted, but here's an opportunity for this guy to do something great. He's going to have to overcome one of the best cars in the field.
Was
Kevin
this
Harvick.
the right choice, choosing the inside line for the restart?
See Kevin Harvick turning left down the straightaway, just trying to shorten the distance up to turn 1.
Side by side as they enter turn 1. Blaney with the advantage, but here comes the 4.
Blaney almost cleared him, not quite.
Now the 4 dives into turn 3. He has the lead. Way up the racetrack goes the 10 of Almirola.
22 Logano and Almirola both up the racetrack.
That'll allow Kurt Busch come through into 3rd place here.
Blaney up to 2nd. Kurt Busch in 3rd.
Kyle Larson all the way up to 4th.
And again, he's got fresher tires than those in front of him. Will that play a role with 31 left to go?
See Almirola making a move on Chase Elliott.
Almirola, how hungry will he be to try to get back what he lost in 3 and 4? We saw at Dover, after he had a dominant car and pushed it a little bit too hard on a late restart, put himself into the wall. Is he going to try to push too hard now?
And we saw that action in turn 3 with Logano and Almirola. See Almirola underneath Logano. They drive in the corner. Almirola off the racetrack. Logano did a great job of recognizing that and just getting away from him. Right there, he touched him, got in the left rear corner band just a little bit. That could have been big.
That's very similar to what we saw on the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson into turn 3 earlier today, Kelly.
Yeah, we saw Eric lose that track position there, and he sounded pretty upset with Joey Logano.
Yeah, he's already won a damn race. You'll be back to him in a minute. Just fix it.
Cautions come out.
Matthew Benedetto in the wall on the back straightaway somehow. He's had some contact.
Matt Benedetto, a lot of damage to the front end of that car. It is folded up.
Yeah, I think he got in the inside wall on the back straightaway.
Yep, fine.
And another restart.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick did not want to see that. He had done his job. He had got some track position, cleared Ryan Blaney. Another issue is, you know, Kyle Larson on those new tires. I don't think they were going to run Harvick down under green, but now on these restarts, they seem better there, Dale. I don't know if they continue to be better. Let's take a look at what happened to the 32 car.
Coming off of turn 2. There's a little contact between Bubba Wallace and the 37 car, Buescher, and 32 and Truex may have made some contact there to upset that 32 car. Matt gets in the inside wall. It'll be interesting to see if Truex got any right front damage from that.
Another thing that happened during this caution is that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to get the free pass first car lap down. Well, that's only 2 cars now one lap down, and one of those being Kyle Busch. So maybe one more caution and you see Kyle Busch get back in the lead lap.
I'm interested to see what Harvick does on this restart, what line he chooses.
Yeah.
He chooses the inside line again. The 12 car, Blaney has some experience on that outside line. And that was close. Yeah. The 12 car Blaney has been on that outside line on the restarts in through 1 and 2. Did he learn something? Did he understand, maybe I can go through there a little harder? Can I put up a little bit more of a fight?
I've noticed on the restarts, Kevin Harvick, whenever he's controlled the restart and picked the bottom, watching when he restarts, he leaves the zone and turns left and tries to make it as short as he can to turn 1. Maybe he has some confidence, that's enough to beat him into 1.
Benedetto out of the car. Harvick will have to choose which lane he wants to restart in. Today's aerial coverage provided by Coca-Cola. Winding down the laps here, under 26 to go. That means we're looking for a fantastic finish. Maybe like what we saw a week ago at Martinsville. Martin Truex Jr. has the advantage.
So much pressure inside these cars.
Incredible drive by Joey Logano.
Will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. It's going to be Logano getting the win.
It's racing. It's what we got to do to get there. We got to get there first.
We should be in victory lane right now.
You know, some aren't going to like it. As I said, haters are going to hate a little bit.
They won the battle, but he ain't win the damn war.
I'm a hard racer, and I don't think that's a secret to anyone. And we're here to win a championship this year.
Looking forward to some late race fireworks here at Texas Motor Speedway. For some updates, let's start with Marty.
And a non-playoff driver, and Ryan Blaney might spoil the party here. Jeremy Bolins, what does he need to do on this restart to make it happen this time and clear the 4?
We just need another foot. We were almost there. We just got to get clear of the 4. I think whoever gets the lead will be in good shape if it stays green. It's pretty tough to pass, so just racing for wins.
They have asked the 42 of Kyle Larson to push him as hard as he can, Kelly.
Well, Kyle Larson, Chad Johnston still looking for their first win of the season. Chad, how do you like your chances here restarting 4th?
We got the best tires out of everybody up there, but tires haven't seemed to matter. It's just going to all depend on how good a start we get up from the outside here. The outside's not been the lane to be in, but hopefully we can get this DC Solar Chevrolet in victory lane and check that one off the box for this year.
Thanks, Chad. Rick?
Harvick once again has chose the inside line, and on his outside will be Ryan Blaney. Back through the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. 24 laps to go.
I thought Harvick had cleared him, but he didn't. 12 car with a big run.
A good restart for Harvick, though. He holds him outside. Can he clear him? Yes! Blaney gets by him.
Impressive. I thought that maybe Blaney had learned something from that restart beforehand on that outside groove. Maybe he could push it a little harder, and he does.
And this is going to be so difficult for Kevin Harvick. We've seen track position. It matters all day long. You just heard Jeremy Bolins. He thinks whoever gets out front is going to have the best chance to win this race because it's been so hard to pass.
Harvick's had the best car all weekend long. We'll see if he's able to get close enough to affect the air on the 12.
Here's a crew chief for the 4, Rodney Childers. Man, he knows that's how close it was when he got cleared off turn 2. Now he's got to watch like we are to see if Kevin Harvick can put together perfect laps for 23 laps. See if he can make his way back by the 12.
The last time through 1 and 2, Harvick beat him through 1 and 2.
Harvick's faster. It's just when you get within that 1, 2, 3 car lengths back, it takes so much air off the front of Harvick's car. It makes it so hard for him to continue to move forward. He just continues to lose downforce the closer he gets to the 12.
Truck Series race, Xfinity Series race this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Both of them ended with last lap passes. Can Kevin Harvick get close enough to affect the air on the 12 of Ryan Blaney? Get him loose, get him out of the groove, and get by him.
You see the playoff points to the left side.
Long way to go here.
22 already has a win. The 4 plus 36. He would much rather have a win, but I think the 4 and 18, even the 78, while they haven't had the best days, you got to be happy this isn't the 41, the 9, or the 10 leading the race. That would completely flip-flop the playoff standings.
This is the lap. This is where he's going to have to beat the 12 car. It's going to be hard to make up any ground in 3 and 4. So much grip over there. 1 and 2, where it's low grip, that's where Harvick's going to have to take advantage. You can see he's better in 1 and 2.
He's there. He's close enough. He's close enough. He can get a little. He's just about to where he can upset that the back of the 12 car.
Needs a good run right here off of 4 to enter right on that rear bumper.
Yeah, there's so much off throttle down here in turn 1. If he could be with that, maybe another car length closer, he could drive in there and try to upset the back of that 12 car. Not close enough. He knows he's not close enough.
And he can't try too hard in that situation. If you try to make up too much ground, it's only going to make it worse.
Yeah, he knew he couldn't drive in there deep. Not close enough there, but got to put together a couple corners, try to get that opportunity.
Hey, remember when Ryan Blaney got his first win at Pocono? Who did he hold off to win it? It was so impressive. He had Kevin Harvick putting all kinds of pressure on him. On that day, he had enough in him to hold off Kevin Harvick. See if he can do it again today.
Look at him game there in turn 1 and 2. Harvick is so good in 1 and 2.
Blaney off the bottom. He's off the bottom on exit. You cannot do that. If he does, Harvick will eventually take advantage.
Big run coming off of 2, but diving into 3 still. 2 car lengths separate these two.
Harvick's so good in 1 and 2. It's going to happen sooner or later. I don't think that Blaney can keep him back there.
Some positive energy coming down the front straightaway with a little bit of gain on him.
Watch him right here.
That right there is where the speed is.
Well, there
Blaney
he is.
off
Here
the
he goes.
bottom.
Here comes Harvick to the inside of Blaney.
Right rear, still there, still there, still there.
He's got the preferred line as they dive into 3, and Harvick leads at Texas again.
That's so impressive, isn't it, Junior? That's so hard to make that happen.
You're saying it, man. I'm telling you, I cannot believe how good that 4 car is through 1 and 2, especially coming to drive up behind that car and be in that dirty air and continue to be able to get to him. Wow. Harvick's driving that car, but you got to give props to Rodney Childers and that team for giving him a car that can do this.
Yeah. Right there, the 12 he just got on that apron a little bit. That's where he was slow. Harvick took advantage of it.
Wow.
That's so impressive. Look at what he's doing to him now.
Yeah, look at the gap.
Away.
Look at the gap he's put now between first and second. Harvick has almost 0.8 of a second lead.
And that's demoralizing to Blaney. Like, gosh, man, I got a great restart. I did everything I needed to do. I got track position, and now look at him. He is just driving away.
Coming up on 14 laps to go. Kelly.
Hey, Rick, remember that hard racing we saw between the 10 and the 22 after the previous restart? Well, now you can add Eric Almirola to the list of drivers upset with Joey Logano.
He's already going to Homestead, and he wants to race me like that. He won't get a break at all from me when we get to Homestead, I guarantee you that. I don't care if we're racing for a championship or not.
Meanwhile, the team just trying to keep Eric focused and motivated. 14 to go.
That's what makes Miami so difficult. It's like Survivor. You got to somehow make it to Miami without making so many enemies that you have a chance in the race. But you first have to get there. I mean, I like what Joey Logano's doing. I know Eric's frustrated, but I think at this point you can't turn the switch on and off. You have to race one way, and that's how Joey Logano's racing.
Yeah, it's not Joey Logano's job to make it easy for Eric Almirola. I mean, you know what? You're racing. You're competing. He didn't do anything bad. He was just racing.
Yeah, I mean, if he was on his door real tight going down into 3, that'd be one thing. But there was a good distance between those 2 cars when the 10 car got loose into 3. That's just frustration coming from Almirola because he knows, like he said all day long, give me the track position, I can probably win this race. He knows that took that opportunity away.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, listen, Eric Almirola wants to go to Miami with a chance to win a championship. He's had a really good year. I understand how frustrated he is. We've all been there. It's so hard when you're inside these race cars. I love the passion from Eric Almirola.
And if you're keeping a list at home now, the 78 and the 10 both are on the list as far as not wanting to help Logano out at all. Kevin Harvick out front now has a 1.5 second lead over second place Ryan Blaney. Take a look at this. Kevin Harvick's 42 years old. He has won 7 races already in 2018. Look at the names that are on this list with him. Lee Petty, the first Petty that raced in NASCAR. David Pearson, one of the greatest of all times, the Silver Fox. Bobby Allison, Hall of Famers all on this list. And then Kenseth down there at 2013 when he won 7 races in a year.
And these guys didn't race under this format, but think about this. If Kevin Harvick were to win this race, but I'm not giving it to him yet. I've seen so many late race cautions, but that would be, if he wins this race, it would be the 4th time in 5 years that he's gone to Miami with a chance to win the championship. That alone is exceptionally impressive.
Well, yeah, we have seen drivers make moves during their career. Could you say more about Kevin Harvick's move to SHR? I mean, he had some success at Richard Childress Racing, but since joining SHR, his numbers have just skyrocketed.
Yeah, I think working with Kevin Harvick over the years and understanding what kind of driver he is and what he does for a company, what he does for a team, he's really smart at being able to put the right pieces around him to give him success, and he did that going over to Stewart-Haas Racing. He pretty much handpicked that entire team around him, his crew chief and everything. And so he knew what he needed to do to win. He knew what he was building. I think he knew all along. And we saw it. As soon as they went to their first test,
man.
before they ever ran a race together, they went to their first test and was faster than anyone there. And I said, oh, my God, Steve, we got a new sheriff in town. The 4-car is going to be tough. And he has been ever since they've been together.
Yeah, Junior, he said he was most proud of the fact of what they've done at Stewart-Haas Racing because of that hand-picking. You know, the crew chief and Rodney Childers and then all those people around him. One of his prouder moments. Kelly.
Well, Kyle Larson running third is in position for his third straight top 3 finish on a 1.5-mile track. When I talked to Chad Johnson earlier today, he said, look, the season has been disappointing because for the third straight year, we got knocked out of the playoffs ahead of the championship 8. They're disappointed because they haven't yet won. And he said to make it worse is that we've been in position to win and just haven't been able to close the deal. But as I said earlier, they still feel like they've got good chances ahead of them running third here at Texas, but they feel good at Phoenix next week. And Homestead, Miami, of course, Kyle Larson's favorite track. They'd love to be a spoiler there, Marty.
Elliot, got to give a tip of the cap to Martin Truex Jr., Cole Pearn, this entire 78 team for not giving up today. Remember, they had that loose left front wheel earlier. Then they had the penalty after that. Here they are in the 9th position. When they came down pit road, before that loose wheel, they were plus 24. As it sits right now, they're plus 23 above that cut line. So after all of that, not going to hurt them that much. That's where they should be heading into Phoenix next week.
Great fight by the 78 Martin Truex Jr., but they are not going to be in position. If this race were to end now, they're not going to be able to go to position to Phoenix next week and just roll through there. 23 points is not a lot when you think about the points you can earn in stages. They can't afford mistakes. So, you know, you think about what could have been at Martinsville. They didn't get that win. They're going to have to go to Phoenix with still some pressure and stress.
Under 4 laps to go for Kevin Harvick. I sat down with him a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people forget how he got into this sport. He was thrust into the Cup Series because he came in when Dale Earnhardt died, and he took over that ride. And he said to me, there were a lot of things that happened that first year that I'll never experience ever again in my life. He said the first press conference I was ever at, there were more eyes on me at that as the caution will come out. Now a restart will have to be, well, conquered again by Kevin Harvick. We'll see what he's got in him.
Good. Some tires.
The 51 of Joey Gay spins. And now it's going to be a sprint. A lot of damage to the 19 of Daniel Suarez as well.
And what does Kevin Harvick do? Does he pick the top?
He's going to pick the top.
Guys, 18 car free pass.
That's what I was getting ready to say, Jeff. Yep. Gives him the opportunity to gain more positions.
I mean, you say that with confidence, Rick, that the Harvick's going to take the top.
Well, you've told me, you're the crew chief, and you've told me that's the best place to go.
Riding on the 19 car here. This is a whole bunch of things happening right here. Yeah, it does. 19 got in there. Look at him. Got in there a little deep. 47 got up into the 51. I wonder if there might have been something on the racetrack. All these guys having so much trouble in that corner altogether.
That was really strange.
Yeah. You do like to give them credit.
Here we go. Yeah, you did. Well, I think that,
you got tight. He's in the gray. He's in the gray. Outside, 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 outside. Clear low. Outside, 19 spinning.
it looked like, I mean, it looks like there's some oil on the racetrack, but nobody reporting any. Just guys having trouble late in this race, getting cool, getting loose. Cars are getting looser, front's starting to work better.
They're already cutting sheet metal off of the 19. Just to put a period on that story about Kevin Harvick, the press conference he was at, he said that's the most people that will ever watch me in a press conference. His first win, which happened relatively soon after he got into that ride, he said that's the most celebration and the most attention that will ever be on any win. He said there'll never be more attention on me than that very first year and what happened in the way that I came into this sport, even when I won the championship and potentially winning a second if he can get the win here and have a shot at the championship in Miami. It's going overtime. After the race, it's post-race coverage, hashtag victory lap, and proving grounds with Parker Kligerman. Again, stay with us right here on NBCSN. So now, Kevin Harvick, he as race leader will have the choice, inside or outside lane. Blaney once again will be second.
Well, Dale, you mentioned that you thought Blaney had learned something throughout these restarts. Let's go back. They've had 2 of them. This being the first. Ryan Blaney gets a great run through, but the 4 is right on his side, is able to battle back and eventually take over the lead.
Yeah, but he learned a little bit there, and on this next restart, he was able to make it work. And being Harvick off of turn 2, Harvick could not get in that quarter panel, and the 12 is clear. Led for a little while. Harvick eventually coming back and taking the lead back.
And with this being overtime and only 2 green flag laps, whoever clears, I think, has the best shot. Remember, both races this weekend, Dave, have been settled with last lap passes, both the truck and the Xfinity. Are we in store for that again with the Cup race?
Could be. And after the caution came out, Kevin was the first on the radio. Take the top, don't you think? And his spotter, Tim Fedewa, said, I think so. We'll see if they've changed their mind. But I believe he's going to make the move to block and use that line that has worked so well for the 12 car that passed.
They were listening to you.
The only
Not
thing,
me. They were listening to you.
They were listening to Steve.
The only thing about that is that he doesn't have that experience up there, so I don't know whether he knows how hard he can go around the top. The 12 car obviously had those two restarts back-to-back to understand how to run that top. That obviously does put the 12 car in a very difficult situation of restarting on the bottom that he's never done. He's never done that. So this is going to be interesting if Harvick does indeed take the top.
Yeah, the difference being, though, Harvick controls this restart. So the launch is under Kevin Harvick's control. So as long as he can beat the 12, he should enter the corner ahead of the 12 car. The 12 is yet to be able to do that to the 4.
We'll see what kind of fireworks we're going to see here. And then next Sunday on NBC, it's elimination time. Monster Energy Cup Series playoffs. That's the last chance to qualify for the championship for our race coverage from Phoenix begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Marty.
Well, the other thing, by taking the top, it takes away a teammate pushing Ryan Blaney, because up there in the second row, Joey Logano, so that takes away that factor for the 12 car. Jeremy Bullins reminding Ryan Blaney, turn everything off that's drawing any power from the car. I need your complete focus. Everything cooled down in the car as well.
I think that's a great point, splitting the teammates of Penske up. However, what you did was you put Kyle Larson with less laps on his tires behind Blaney. Kyle Larson with less laps. Maybe he has less rear wheel spin. Does a better job of pushing the 12 car. Will newer tires matter on the launch for this restart?
We're about to find out. The field 2x2 coming through 3 and 4.
I'm nervous.
Remember how slick it's been for that inside line, how loose they are without that side force, with that outside line tucked tight on them. It'll be difficult for Blaney to make this work.
Kevin Harvick, control car on the outside, Blaney on the inside. It's overtime, presented by Credit One Bank.
Look at the big push by the 42 of Larson. Went up and hit the 12 car. Moved you in front of the 4. Advantage Blaney.
Here comes Harvick, hard into turn 1, and he clears him easily.
Wow, that's huge. That wasn't even close.
Kevin Harvick down the backstretch already. 4 car lengths between himself and Blaney.
Harvick went into turn 1 and just committed.
What a restart by Kevin Harvick. Coming back by. White flag in the air one more time around in Texas. Kevin Harvick putting together one of the greatest seasons of his life. Looking for his 8th win of 2018. And more importantly, a secured spot in the championship board for another chance at a championship. Harvick wins at Texas. Harvick advancing to the championship 4 in Miami. He mentioned it earlier in Countdown to Green at NASCAR America Pre-Race Show. He wasn't worried about points. He was worried about winning. He went out and dominated this race, leading 177 laps. And you know the 42-year-old who now has 45 career wins in the Monster Energy Cup Series knows how to celebrate these wins.
You guys are awesome.
Acknowledging the fans in the infield. It wasn't that long ago he took son Keelan in the car with him, and to get the checkered flag, it was a time that Keelan was at the racetrack with him week in and week out. And Kevin mentioned that was some of the best times at the track that he has been able to experience, being able to spend that time with his family. This moment right here presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long.
Taking awful good care of this car. Like maybe he wants to see it again in a couple weeks in Miami.
Mile-and-a-half track.
I would think the competition doesn't.
Yeah, you notice no burnouts, no grass, no nothing. We're just going to ride around here under a little celebration.
How dominant the driver at Texas. So now Kevin Harvick has won twice on this reconfiguration of Texas Motor Speedway.
I think this racetrack just suits Kevin Harvick so well. That 1 and 2 area down there, Junior. Think about it. It's a little bit like Atlanta. Very slick. Got to get real slow. Kevin such a good job there as well.
Absolutely. He dominates in Atlanta, and that's exactly right. That corner, that off throttle down into turn 1, the bumps and edginess in the car, very similar.
He'll climb out of the car to grab the checkered flag.
Kevin Harvick climbs out of the car after a fantastic victory lap. Fans going crazy for you. And you have locked yourself into the championship 4. Congratulations.
Yeah, just, you know, really proud of everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing for these cars that we've had really for 5 years now. Just got to thank everybody from Mobil 1 and Ford, everybody from Busch Beer, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Jimmy John's, everybody who helps us on this thing, and really everybody at the shop has just been working day after day to try to make speed, and this place has been really good to me. I'm glad we got to win again here. We finally knocked that barrier down to win in front of all these fans at Texas, so thank you guys.
Harvick, to have a year like this, to pick up win number 8 and a shot at that championship, the relief must be huge to know that you can go to Homestead with a shot at it and you don't have to worry about trying to make it in next weekend.
Well, the expectations are to win. It's like I told you guys before the race, we don't race for points, we race for wins. We don't come here to count our fingers and toes to try to figure out how we're going to make it. We want to earn it. And today we earned our way in, and we're going to go and race again next week and try to win another race and see what we can do in Homestead.
Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you in Victory Lane.
Thank you.
There's your winner, Kevin Harvick.
Two races into the semifinal round of the playoffs. Martinsville a week ago. Logano locks himself in to the championship 4. Now Texas. Kevin said, you know what? Come down here and check this car out. This fan right here is going, are you kidding me?
So when he goes to school tomorrow, he is the man. Like, there is no way you got anything on this guy.
And I think being a dad, Kevin Harvick realizes what kind of a moment that was for that young man. And look at this. Not only does he get the picture, but Kevin Harvick wants to give him the checkered flag as well. Look at that. classy move there by the veteran. He's headed to victory lane to grab another cowboy hat. And if you were wondering if he was going to do a burnout, I think that just answered the question. Kevin Harvick on his way to victory lane again. It wasn't easy, although he led a lot of laps. He had to work hard to get by Ryan Blaney after the restart, and Blaney was able to get by him. He fought hard, waited for his moment, and was able to get back by. Then a great final restart for Harvick, propelled him up front and got him that win that solidifies a championship 4 position. Two names now highlighted in yellow. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, both with wins, both locking themselves into the championship 4. The other members of the big 3, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., pretty hefty leads over Kurt Busch as far as points go, 28 and 25 respectively. And we know that at least one will get in based on points, and the possibility exists that someone could race their way in and get a win at Phoenix. Also join Logano and Harvick in that championship 4 in Miami. Saw Rodney Childers with the cowboy hat already in hand. As the closer, Kevin Harvick. He didn't have to close today. He was out front most of that race. Dave.
And Kevin getting settled in victory lane. Someone to take the sunglasses. You know, there's so many details when you've just won at Texas Motor Speedway. All the product is placed, and now we wait on Kevin to climb out. Gets a quick drink of water, and there is the victor from today. 500 miles later plus. Had to survive a overtime finish. And my friend, you've taken celebrating with the fans to a whole new level. Grabbing a child out of the grandstands. That was cool.
You know, it's always, people always give you grief for not stopping for everybody. You don't have time to stop for everybody, but I love stopping for the kids. Sorry to you adults for the most part, but yeah, that's something that hopefully that kid will remember for his whole life. And, you know, sometimes you get reminders of what you mean sitting in this car to people outside of the sport. And so that moment is going to, you know, hopefully be with that kid forever. So just got to thank everybody from Mobil 1 and Ford, Jimmy John's, Busch, Hunt Brothers, everybody from Haas Automation and Stewart-Haas Racing for just a really, really fast car. For whatever reason, since they've repaved this place has just kind of fit everything that we do. So just a great day, and I didn't pick the top there. I'm sure Letarte was up there yelling at me about picking the bottom and getting beat, but I wasn't going to do it twice, Steve. So it worked out good there at the end.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you had to make that decision then, and then you had to live with that. What was that like trying to hold Blaney off, who hadn't really been trying the bottom either?
Yeah, I knew his car was kind of tight in the middle and kind of loose off, and it was, you know, tough for him to if he wasn't able to arc it in the corner and finish the corner, he had a tough time staying in the throttle. So I just knew I needed to get down in the corner with him. The side draft was really the key, getting down in the corner and getting even. So it all worked out, and just really, really proud of everybody. And you know, I told you before the race that we don't come to these races to count our fingers and thumbs. To see how many points we need. We come here to win, and we did that today.
Ready to go give him a beat down at Phoenix?
I don't know about a beat down. These guys are all tough right now. It's the end of the year. Everybody's on top of their game, but we're gonna go try our best. I can promise you that. We'll say hi to Keelan and everybody at home.
8th win of the year, and we've already decided, by the way, that young man is going to be the hero at school tomorrow. Kevin Harvick, his new favorite driver.
Well, he did take the bottom, but it worked the first time. It didn't work the second, but when the money was on the line, he took the top, and it was amazing. Kevin Harvick proved again he had the best car here. Moments ago, Marty caught up with Joey Logano. Oh, excuse me, Ryan Blaney.
Well, it winds up being second for Ryan Blaney. Boy, how challenging were those last few restarts, Ryan?
Yeah, they were hard. They were challenging. that was really the only shot we had to beat him, to be honest with you. And we got by him one restart, and I just couldn't hold him off. He was just really good, and I kind of missed 1 and 2 by an inch, and he took advantage of it, and just needed to be mistake-free, and maybe then some, and just couldn't be that. So, and then we had another shot at it. The last one, he took the top, like I knew he was going to, and he motored around me. But pretty strong showing by our Carlisle team. Really wanted to win the race, but I thought we were a second-place car all night, really. I thought the 4 was heads and shoulders above everyone else, but I thought we were second best for sure, and worked on it all night. So that was a fun race for sure, but really wanted to run one for Dwayne Felkel, and his family passed away earlier this week and was a fabricator at our shop. And we were thinking about him. I wanted to win one for him, but maybe we'll get one for that family here in the next couple days.
Everyone at Team Penske racing with heavy hearts this weekend. Ryan wanted it for him.
A really solid day for Eric Almirola in this 10th team. They'll finish 8th, but Eric, you know you need to win either here today or next week at Phoenix. What were you guys lacking out there?
We were a third-place car, and that restart there where we finally were in position. We fought all day from the back. We started in the tail, and we worked diligently all day to get up to the front, and finally got ourselves in position to at least have a shot and race, with those guys. And the 22 just went down in turn 3 and put it right on my door and about wrecked us both. So I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to him, but he just continues to make things harder on himself. If that's the way he wants to race me when he's already locked into Homestead and we're out here fighting for our lives, that's fine. When Homestead comes around, if I'm not in, he'll know it.
He will, yeah. We heard how upset you were with him, Eric. When you say he'll know it, I mean, how far would you take it?
Just make it really difficult on him. He made it obviously really difficult on me today, which was really unnecessary. He could have run 4th, 5th, 11th. It wouldn't have mattered. He's still going to go to Homestead and race for a championship. It's just not smart.
Well, how motivated are you now for next week's race at Phoenix?
I'm fired up. Let's go.
He's fired up. Let's go. Another driver now that has singled out Joey Logano. As Logano is locked in to the championship 4, so he knows he's racing for a championship. But what does racing guys hard, and I'm not sure if I saw exactly what Eric Almirola was saying there as far as getting down to the door, but what does racing guys hard right now do for you when you're trying to win the championship?
Well, Eric Almirola is upset because he didn't win this race, and he knows he has to win this race. I think when he goes back and watch that replay, Logano wasn't right on his door. Logano really can't give you much more room than that, because if he does, he wrecks because there's no grip at the upside of turn 3. So those emotions are running high. Everybody wants to win a championship. He knows he needed to win today. But moving forward into Phoenix, I don't think it's a lock for the 78 and the 18. Think about this. The 18 car gave up 18 points today to that cut line. So if you're having a bad day at Phoenix, those guys aren't guaranteed. So, yes, if they have good, clean days, they're moving on to Miami, but it's not going to be that easy just to say it's not without any stress.
One of the more dominant performances we've seen in quite some time, especially in these playoffs, Kevin Harvick. Does that momentum right now that Kevin Harvick has in going to Phoenix, where he wins virtually every race, does that momentum help him and make him the favorite in Miami?
I think what you heard him say today when he went by the start-finish line, dropped the checkered flag, he said execution. We executed. That's what this team hasn't been doing. They've had the speed. This has been, in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 races, the fastest race car on average, but they haven't been winning the races they should have won because of making mistakes. Today, they didn't make mistakes. They were clean, not events. And that's what this team needs to do in Miami. If they do, they're going to be very, very difficult to beat.
All right, let's head over to Junior and Steve. Well, Steve, you got props right away from Kevin Harvick, talking about he knew exactly what line you thought he should have been in on the restarts.
Well, he did a nice job. I mean, you mentioned it. He had to go against Ryan Blaney multiple times. The first time he got the best of Ryan Blaney. It seemed like that second time, you called it. Ryan Blaney learned something. It showed. He was able to clear him. But when it mattered most, I don't think we saw anyone dominate the top line like Kevin Harvick did on that final restart.
Yeah, he basically went in there and committed. I think he neutralized Ryan Blaney by giving Ryan the bottom, which was really not the best line. So one of the things that I was watching all day long of the 4 drivers that are outside of the cut line, I thought the 41 of Kurt Busch would be able to work today to make it easier for himself in Phoenix. He did not do that. He came in 25 points out. He got it down to 16 points by the end of stage 1, but he leads today at the end of this race still 25 points out. So I don't know. It's going to make those, make it a must-win for pretty much all 4 of those guys that are outside the cut line. Also, Logano runs third. He ran third tonight. We didn't talk about him a whole lot because, you know, the dominant car that Harvick had, he was the talk of the race. But Logano is really shaping up over these last couple of weeks into becoming a championship contender. We hadn't talked about him all season, and here it is when it counts.
Really, all of Team Penske. Blaney was up there. Keselowski had his issues throughout the day, recovered decently. But you mentioned Logano and Blaney, and I think having multiple fast cars helps an organization. When you unload at Miami, you're going to want those other cars. This is what we learned in practice. This is what we think. This shock is better. This spring is better. Whatever it may be, it truly is an organizational approach. When you only have one car in, that's the advantage Team Penske has when they head to Miami.
Logano and Harvick. We asked Logano about the 10 and the incident, and Logano and that 22 team said they would rather not comment on what the 10 had to say about how he was raced. Coming up next, it's post-race coverage, hashtag victory lap, and proving grounds with Parker Kligerman. Now let's go to Krista, Kyle, and DJ.